If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call and talk show all about the Wheel of Time. We're getting back together in the afternoon of a Friday, this Thanksgiving holiday here for those of us in the U.S., to talk all about episode 4. And there's so much to unpack here. I can't wait to dig into it with my wonderful guests, so let me bring them to the show right now. Welcome to the Dusty Wheel, Nameless and Jess from the Amyrlin study. How you both doing?
I'm going to do what Jess is doing. Hi.
Big on the two-handed wave. I'm very excited.
I like it. I like the two-handed wave thing. I'll be honest. It's a thing. It's a thing. So we're going to, just for those of you that are a little bit worried, don't know if you're here in chat with us or on social media, I think we're all over social media right now. For the first 20 minutes or so, we're going to try to stay non-spoiler. No book spoilers, people. No book spoilers. I know this was like last week. This was so difficult for my guests. Like I said, for the first 20, 30 minutes, it won't go that long for those of you that just want to kind of dig in and start talking about like, hey, what's up with that book 9 reference or whatever it is. So we'll get there. But I want to start out here by showing this poll and talk to you both about this. This was pretty amazing. Right after the show aired last night, this is the result of, I want to say, 2,400 votes. There you go. 2,400 people voted on this one, and this has been their favorite episode so far. We're at the mid-season, everyone. Mid-season. So what do you think about this result? Jess, let me go to you first. Almost 84% chose this one as their favorite of the season.
I mean, I don't blame them because this episode kicked butt. I think that we've really gotten to the point where stuff is really starting to happen in terms of plot development, and it was just overall really exciting. So
yeah,
I agree. 15 out of 10, excellent episode. Would watch again.
Is this where you're at? Were you one of these? Did you do you choose
I didn't
episode
vote,
4?
but if I didn't vote, but yeah, I would. If I did get to vote, that's what I would vote for.
That's what you'd have voted for. Nameless, how about you? Did you think this was their best episode so far of the season?
Yeah, actually, I did. I was one of your voters. So I actually do my civic responsibilities, unlike Jess.
Excuse me. I had family over.
Well, you know what? Tweeting is important. Okay. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I failed all of you. I'm sorry.
But no, I did think it was the best. Now, ironically, I mentioned this to Matt right before the show. it's funny to me because, well, I don't want to get into that. I was going to say it's just the most different, right?
Yeah,
from
you can.
the books.
Yeah,
can
you
I say
can
that
make
at
that
least?
comment? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's it. It's interesting that most people thought that way, and I think that extends beyond. I would imagine most of the people that responded to your poll were book readers, just because that's a large majority of your followers anyway, right? But I actually decided, and I normally don't do this because it's usually an exercise in having yourself become depressed, but I got onto Facebook and started reading comments, right?
Brave man.
And looking for comments from non-readers. And that was the same reaction I got there too. My family thought this episode was outstanding. They've never read the books. I think that this got a great reaction from people in general. And I just thought it was interesting because it is the most different episode so far from the books.
So Jess, why do you think that is, considering like what Nablus just said, right? It is, I think that's definitely, I think you can say this is definitely the most different from the books. Why do you think that people are just responding just overwhelmingly positively about this particular episode?
I really think it's because, I don't know, I feel like it was really exciting. I feel like a lot of the first 3 episodes, there were exciting moments, but a lot of it felt like exposition. And it feels like now we've gotten to the point where all of that exposition was leading, kind of like a climactic moment in the season. And, we got introduced to Logan and got to see him in action. We got to see the Greens and the Reds doing battle stuff. We learned more about the Ajas. I mean, a lot of information came out, and at the same time, it was sort of the culmination of everything that we've seen so far in a lot of ways. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I liked it, and I assume that other people liked it for that reason as well, at least some of them.
Yeah, I think that I saw this comment. Dorico said tension ramped up big time. Yeah, there's obviously just developing the whole show, right? I mean, you get deeper into a show, you start getting lower world building, you get to know some characters. I think for book fans, my guess would be that having gone back and rewatched some episodes, maybe letting go some of the need for everything to be the same in their minds, at least for me, and just kind of getting into the story that's being told here. I think that is, letting go some of that. Maybe that first episode stuff that happened. I think a lot of fans said that, it was like, whoa, like this was different. I needed to go back and watch it again. So yeah, I think there's that kind of culminating. And obviously this kind of feels like this is a finale of sorts, right? Like it's like we're halfway through. Like Nabis, is that freaking you out? Like we've been waiting for this to actually be a TV series. And now we've seen half the episodes at this point. How are you feeling at this point?
I feel like they need to make each book into a 52 episode
right
block, because I would totally watch that. But yeah, no, it's crazy that it's gone by that fast. Now, what's unique about it is we did get the first 3 episodes, and now we're going to get them weekly, and so we have this waiting period now where we get to kind of speculate and talk. And I know some of the stuff we'll get to later is talking about some maybe the questions that come from this episode, and it gives us a great chance to do what we got to do with the books, and that's speculate and theorize and geek out about books.
Okay, so
our TV show. So I'm excited about that.
I want to do that. For those of you that, again, we're going to stay away from book spoilers for right now in chat. Please do. Yeah. But I want to get into some of the speculation. I think we can, as just viewers of the show. At least one of the ones for me that just stands out has to be this moment. Let me show it on screen here. For those of you that are following this character, obviously Matt, you see this, what seems to be some kind of darkness that fans pointed out probably relates to the darkness that is from episode 2 when they were in a city called Shadar-Logoth. Looks the same, and it seems to be going into his mouth here. This is like one of those spots. There's also where he almost he throws up, and you see like what was crazy. You almost see the darkness like on the ground in front of him, like things he touched. So I want to ask this to you both. This family that we see is basically murdered here. I know we see what is a fade also in this home, but what do you think? Do you think that, Jess, do you think that Matt was responsible for anything that happened to this family?
I want to believe that he was not. My theory, half-baked though it may be, is that the reason that he was in the house was because whatever it is that he's got going on maybe gave him some kind of sense that there was something, that the Fade was there, or maybe he was up peeing or something like that, so that he realized something was wrong. I don't want to believe that Matt would be capable of that, even with the darkness that's going on. I think it was the Fade. There wasn't any blood on his dagger. So, I think that it was the Fade.
Okay, that's an interesting point. I had not noticed that. So that's a good thing to call out, that his dagger doesn't seem to. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. Okay, so that does lead me, because I still, I don't know, part of me wasn't going to let them off the hook here, but you're right. If you look at this image of his hand holding this dagger, it doesn't give us any indication. That's not necessarily a 1-to-1. Like, you got to believe that. But what do you think, Nablus? Are you in the same camp now?
Oh, I'm not. I'm beyond that. I think 100% it was the Fade. But you know what I think is going on here? I think that Fade is hiding.
Ooh, interesting. You think he's hiding from Matt?
Yes.
So when Matt's just standing there almost and says, I think the words are, "I see you." Interesting. Yeah. But okay.
Yeah.
But hold on. But you say hiding. The Fade does attack. So
after Matt gets pushed out, yes.
Okay. So you're saying that maybe there's a little bit the danger. That you think that Matt presents some kind of danger to the Fade.
Yeah. Let's think about this. Okay. Why would and again, we're avoiding book spoilers here, but why would the Fade have gone directly to the family? It would not have.
Oh, okay. That's so you think that the Fade, because we see later on that the little girl is killed outside, and then so you think the Fade then went into the home, and then you think Matt somehow followed the Fade in, or do you think? Yeah, how do you think those two things happened?
This is a difficult conversation. I almost feel like this needs to be an after we get out.
We'll wait till spoilers. That's fine. We'll come back to this one. We'll come back. I don't
want to accidentally
for those that are watching, really curious again to see how new viewers are kind of consuming this moment. My daughter's like, he has a toxic relationship with that blade. I love that.
Girl, you have no idea.
That's a great comment. So yeah, I love that. Okay, so let me. There was another one that comes up, and I want to ask you both about this one. Perrin says, basically tells Egwene, I don't trust these people. Jess, do you think we've been given any reason to believe that there's something suspicious? Do you think this is just kind of this is a group of people he doesn't understand, and it's just his suspicion, or do you think there's something else going on here?
I mean, I can understand why he would think they're kind of creepy. He's had a pretty rough go of it the last few days, so it's not like he's in a good place mentally anyway. Yeah. But, I do kind of get the feeling that he's sensing something that Egwene isn't.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. It's like some kind of feeling that something isn't right for some reason, and of course, obviously we know the Dark Friends can be anywhere. We've learned that.
Do you think that that's what this, do you think that there's some kind of, he gets this feeling we had the whole wolves kind of pushing him, if you will, towards, we had the wolves kind of pushing him. It seemed like, at least they didn't attack or anything, but they were
hurting them.
Yeah, almost like hurting. It seemed like, and so the thought was that they must have been hurting him towards somewhere, you would think safe, maybe. It's an interesting kind of feeling for him to kind of be here and kind of sensing something. Do you think, Nablus, we're getting we have a Dark Friend situation going on? Do you think there's
no? Because I don't keep in mind Perrin was not involved. He doesn't know what a Dark Friend is yet, so I don't think he's afraid of that. Because Matt and Rand didn't know what they were prior to Tom explaining that, right?
Sure, that's a good point.
Perrin doesn't know that. He's not afraid of that. I think it's more Perrin's in his own guilt right now.
Gotcha. Yeah.
There's something inherent when something, we all are like this. If something's too good to be true, you don't trust it. And
Yeah.
these people are too giving. Why in the world are they handing out their food? Why are they tracking them down?
Yeah.
And then she even talks about, while they're walking along, the axe. This is before they
Mhm.
have the later conversation, which, by the way, was a total gem. I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yep.
But that she talks about, and has the axe made your life any better? And you're watching these emotions on his face.
Yeah.
Because obviously he killed his wife with that axe, and his wife is not better for it. And so I do feel like he's almost in his own guilt, is where I was reading.
I think I think the idea of him being in this guilt makes sense. I think some kind of, cultural prejudice, kind of coming out, and his feeling about, that's what Aram, or is it Aram says right at the beginning when they first meet. It's like, we're going to steal your babies, and, you don't know us, we're the Tinkers kind of thing, kind of easing them in because they seemed like really scared. So yeah, it would make sense that would be the case. But yeah, he seems, I like that as an explanation, because you're saying there's no dark friend kind of, that hasn't been really explained to them just yet. So yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I like that.
I just sort of was working under the assumption that they already knew that, but it seems clear that they didn't. So. Right.
I like that. By the way, thank you very much, WL. Hope you and your family had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Episode 4 was off the chain. You knew that it couldn't end with everyone dead, but seeing 9 of you with Supernova was still jaw-dropping. Yeah. There's this really funny moment. I want to share. I'll try to get this image up. My sister-in-law, she like wrote my wife, and she's like, what the, Lan? And then she's like, oh, he was fixed. Okay, everything's better now. I just love that he was fixed. We're all good now.
They repaired him. It's all good.
So that definitely hit, just new viewers. Like, obviously she cared a lot about, she's never read the books. She's just watching along, and she obviously cared that, this could, take out Lan. That was unacceptable to her as a viewer, which I loved. That was awesome. Okay, I have one more that I think is really interesting from just a viewer perspective. No book spoilers, but I want to go to both of you. Nablus, is there one kind of just from a viewing experience where this just hit you and you thought it was just either well done, some kind of mystery, a question that you have about this episode?
Well, in terms of it's funny because the stuff that I find to be super well done is usually more character moments. Like, I really enjoyed the Nynaeve and Lan interactions. I'll tell you what I really, really enjoyed was Leandrin, shockingly. And I think I actually like Alana, which is what the heck. So, I'll say this, like, yes, there are some moments there's the big moment at the end that I think everybody kind of gravitates to.
Sure.
I thought that was cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that was awesome. But to me, that would have been just, that would not have had the same impact had it not been for, I think, the character development moments and those conversations that happened earlier.
Yeah.
Because I feel like right now, and I saw one comment saying the opposite of this, and I feel like we're watching two different shows. The character development in the TV show so far is so far beyond where the characters are at in the books at this point. And again, that's not getting into any spoilers for books, but these characters are so well developed in terms of motivations and interactions. Whatever is going on, I'll say it this way, with Lan and Nynaeve right now is awesome. Like, I just there. So I feel like the interactions between the characters and the development of the characters is dead on. Now, the plot points are all over the place right now, and I think where a lot of people are struggling is separating. But this didn't happen, and this didn't happen, and they didn't do this way, and okay. But the characters right now are really well fleshed out. That's what I'm kind of hyped about, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Stubble McShave left this and said, episode 4 may be different plot-wise, but it's true to the character's emotional truth with some great moments with Logan, Warders, and Aes Sedai. Yeah. That was one of the, things I liked, the Warders, that Warder moment. What did you think about that, Jess, kind of getting maybe an inside look at that?
I really liked it. I liked the camaraderie that they were sharing. I liked that they were roasting Lan the way that friends do when somebody brings a new girlfriend around or something like that. I really enjoyed that. And I really liked the moment where they explained, Stepin explained that Aes Sedai serve the world, and Nynaeve asks, well, what does that make you? And Lan says, proud. Like, I really I liked that moment. And then when the other guys sort of expanded on it, they said they were tired, which I also thought that was great.
Yeah.
You know, a little levity to the moment. But yeah, that one I like 3 times that I've watched through that part, and I've enjoyed it a lot every time because, you know, it feels very real. It feels very relatable. We get a lot of valuable information. I just thought it was really well done.
Yeah, the story making him almost, you know, begrudgingly smile, breaking that kind of stoic look on his face by teasing him. You know, I thought that was good to show that kind of friendship that they had, and that kinship, I think, was really well done. Like, again, kind of behind the scenes moment of where the warders aren't out doing their jobs. They're just sitting around, you know, at a fire.
Well, and it makes sense because you have to assume that when they're at the tower, they're out training together. They know each other. You know, it's not like it doesn't make sense that they would be strangers. And obviously they're not all going to have the same, you know, silent but deadly personality that Lan has. So, you know, I like that they showed a variety there, that warders are people and they have personalities and, you know, do their own thing.
Can I add something to that too? I mean, keep in mind, this is how good the casting is. Peter Franzen is like one of the best actors in Finnish history. And he's the guy that played Stepan. He was awesome. Like, and he delivered some exposition on Aes Sedai without it really feeling like exposition. And this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, where it's the combination of the writing and acting. They have fleshed out these things in a way where there is an understanding of what's going on, but yet at the same time, it's not, I don't think it's like they're not telling too much. I think people are following it and understanding it. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, the relationship building. By the way, before we jump, because I see somebody mentioning Jenny, I see some mentioning like I loved that.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah,
Alana and Moraine had some really, really great scenes. I want to mention this. My daughter, who's read 1.5 books, they said basically like, do you know what the Aes Sedai means in the old tongue? And it was so funny because like she immediately, it's like servants of all before like the show said it. And I was like, I looked over at her and I was like, that was impressive. You know, you've been through the books 1.5 times and that already stuck with you to before we were like answering questions as they ask them or they say them on screen. So shout out to my daughter. Nicely done. That was hilarious. Okay.
I love that.
This relationship, building between Alana and Moraine, and how Moraine says like, you know, you'd have made a good blue. I think they did a fantastic job basically kind of weaving in this idea of these long-term friendships that are happening or have happened and kind of giving you a feel for like, okay, so you can tell that there's a lot of history there. And you could tell that Alana was just kind of leading the question a bit. Like, yeah, I've been asked to kind of check in on you and this is how that's how I took that scene. Like, yeah, so you remember you had a dog and all that stuff. And she's like, yeah. What do you want to know? You've been told to spy on me, haven't you? And she's just like, you know, I mean, soon, I'm sure, you know, kind of thing. It was just a really cool relationship moment for me. What did you take from that, Nablus? What did you think about that Jenny story?
Well, you know what? Alana, so Priyanka playing Alana, first of all, was so like the little smirk on her face the whole time she was talking about like they both know what they're doing, right? There was a level of familiarity there. And to address the comment you said about, well, you'd make a great blue, and she said I could never do with one warder. Those are things that, again, it tells the audience. I don't mean to keep coming back to this, but this is such a sign of good writing because you now understand that greens have more than one warder, and we didn't have to read that or somebody. Did you know that greens it can take more than one warder? Like that was communicated without them having to say it in just a small quippy comment from Alana to Moraine. I just thought that was excellent. But back to the whole interaction there, Alana. First of all, she was great in battle. Like that was fun to watch her be funny and then go out and kick butt and take out the king on her own. And right. Like that. I just loved the way they did that character. And I know, you know, we may not love her forever, but I love her right now. And it just, I think I loved the different parts of this episode than most people did. But it was the little things like that I think are adding to this. That's why I think this episode felt so at home to most readers, even though it was completely not the book story.
Yeah.
As Stubble was saying, the characters felt like Wheel of Time characters.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay. And I want to call this out to everybody. Okay. For those of you that are new viewers, hopefully you've enjoyed this kind of like sneak peek into what we're doing here at the Dusty Wheel, but we're going to switch to book spoilers. And I do want to invite you though, for those of you that are just new viewers here, let me find this if I can, and I can throw it up on the screen for you. There it is. Yeah, please do on Tuesday, this next Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, there'll be another episode of Inside the Wheel of Time. It's the official after show for the Wheel of Time on Amazon Prime. And I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to love who we have on the show that we'll be interviewing. So make sure you're there. And we try to stay pretty book spoiler free. So if you are a new viewer, again, it's on the Amazon Prime YouTube video. It's called Inside the Wheel of Time. You can go see our first episode, and in which I got to interview Marcus Rutherford. That was a great interview with Marcus. He's had some really fun stuff. And shared some awesome stories about blacksmithing, which were amazing. So make sure to go check that out and be back there with us on Tuesday. But we're moving on here to full book spoilers. So those of you that are sitting in chat, please be aware that we will be spoiling some things here. And we just invite you to kind of maybe step away if you don't want anything from the book spoiled, because there's so much to hit on here. I feel bad I just missed like 2 comments that jumped up here, but I will try to see if I can find them. If not, this one I have. This one, Blue Boyle said, the show became much better to me when I really let go of the idea this is going to be the same story from the books. Episode 4, 9 out of 10. Yeah, I've heard that just a lot from people, that this is... once you can let go of that exact feeling, like this has to be the exact story from the books, people have enjoyed this much more. So, and oh yeah, we have to talk about this. Ahmad said, can you guys please explain the whole Moraine lapdog thing Alana, Karina were going on about? Not sure I follow what that was about. Yeah, do you think that there was a additional meaning from the lapdog idea, or was it, I took it just like people often think of warders as that's what they are. And so we got like they were like, oh yeah, warders, lapdogs, that's the idea. But in reality, no, they're more than that. But that's what I took from it. Did you guys take anything different from that conversation?
No.
Okay.
I just felt like it was a humanizing moment for Moraine.
Yeah.
I didn't make a connection between her having a dog when she was a novice and Nynaeve's lapdog comments. I didn't make that connection. Which doesn't mean they're not connected, obviously. But yeah, I just took it as more of establishing a history between Alana and Moraine, and a humanizing moment for Moraine as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if anybody maybe there's something in the books that we missed. Rich, I agree. Rather than be bothered by the changes, the show has given back the sense of anticipation and wonderment that I felt when first reading. Yeah. I hope that all fans out there that are previously have read this, and I get the idea of there being changes, is affecting. But I hope that you can get through that and actually just enjoy the excitement of not knowing what's exactly going to happen, while still following the specific kind of plot that we are familiar with and the characters. To your point, Nablus, I absolutely believe that these are the characters, and they've done a really good job with that. So we have to talk about this one. This is a great place to jump in. We're going to jump right to the end of that episode. People want to know this, book spoiler-wise, and we'll open the call lines in about 20 minutes. This is a live call and talk show. You can give us a call, share your thoughts on the episode. But I can't throw this one up on screen. Sorry about that. But MSW Wub and another user out there that I just missed asked about Logan. And they said, not sure why everyone was confused about Logan reacting to Nynaeve's power. Even if he can't see the weaves, he is seeing her heal an entire room. Okay, so I want to go to this question. The very end of this, we see this amazing, what would you call it? Just Nynaeve's amazing healing capabilities, that look a lot like this moment. I tried to unblur this when they first put out this trailer, and you couldn't see exactly who or what was in there, but you get this feeling there was somebody there. So this moment here with Nynaeve and Logan, for those of you that might be wondering why we're talking about that, Nablus, when it comes to men channeling and that can see or can't see women channeling, we're used to like they get, what is it, like they get the chills a little bit, like they can sense channeling happening, but they can't see it. Do you think that they've changed this? Do you think that men can see like the weaves that women are channeling?
No, I don't think that, and I have reason to say that. Again, that scene right there would make you believe that they could, and that's, I think, worthy of discussion. And I'm sure we'll come back to that topic. But the reason I don't necessarily believe it is Moraine talks about how she can't tell how strong Logan is and can't see his weaves, and that's been addressed in the even in the X-ray material. They address the difference between Sidar and Sidene, right? So there is a separation. There is, and I know people are saying, did they combine the power? Like, no, they didn't. It's separate, but something is up there, and I think that's what we can now speculate about.
Yeah,
because clearly Logan, there's two things that happen that are weird. One, Karenni blocks whatever Logan sent at Moraine and Leandrin,
right, and
then dies because of it, right? So you have that little scene, and then you have later Nynaeve in her explosion, like the sun, right? Logan is like, I can't look at it, like one of those things, right? So what happened there? Because it does kind of appear maybe that you can see weaves. So my question is maybe, are they seeing the results of said weaves, or what was happening is, I guess, the question there. And I think that's something for us to discuss. Okay,
and I'm gonna ask that. I'm gonna ask that poll here for those of you that are watching on social media. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this kind of sneak peek. We're gonna be going for a while, a couple hours here. If you want to join us, you can just join us over on YouTube. It's the Dusty Wheel. Just look us up. We'll be live for, like I said, a couple hours. As long as my guests want to stay here, and as long as people in chat are loving it, we'll just keep going. And so,
as long as I can take bio breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Take a little break and come back. So I'm gonna have Taylor come in and kind of end this sneak peek on social media for those of you that are watching us there. But you might get a little bit more before he cuts you off. Okay, I'm gonna ask everybody in chat: do you think that Logan is seeing, one power weaves here? Let me ask what the general kind of pulse is of the room. If we think that they've changed something from this side, but I have to mention Ray's comment here in chat. Thank you, Ray, for the tip. He said the only major gripe I have is how they pronounce certain names compared to how they are spelled. It wouldn't be a Wheel of Time discussion unless we talk about pronunciation at some level. So thanks, Ray. Yeah, appreciate that.
I kept thinking you were saying Rafe. Like Rafe is in the chat making fun of how we're pronouncing names in the show.
Yes.
Well, that's really meta, Rafe. Just get in there. All right.
So Adam said about this question, I figured Logan got super duper goosebumps. He's been getting goosebumps from the sisters channeling his shield for however long that's been going on. So Adam just took it as just an overwhelming, awareness of it. But you do see him kind of shield his eyes. And so it does feel like there's some greater awareness, some visual awareness, other than just kind of a sensation that he's having. That's what I see. But I see you shaking your head. Let me see how this poll's turning out. Okay. So those of you that are sitting in chat, almost 700 of you have voted at this point, and 77% think no, he's not seeing the one power weaves. So, okay. Other explanations of what's going on there? You think, Jess, do you think he's just aware because maybe there's just light from the healing itself? Like, I don't know, there's actual light that you're seeing as an after effect of the weaves?
Yeah, I have some thoughts on this. So we don't have any reason to think that they have eliminated the Nynaeve's block storyline, which means that she can't channel unless she's angry. This whole situation has made her very angry, ergo she goes supernova. But we also know that she isn't trained. So whatever she's doing, she's going on instinct, and it could very well be because she doesn't have a lot of the knowledge or control that there was some kind of visual artifact that went along with that, something really bright. Now, we were talking about this before the show started. We know that Logan has a talent for being able to see Ta'Veren, and we had some disagreement with with Naves about whether or not maybe he was seeing the glow of Nynaeve being ta'veren. But I am more inclined to think that there was a visual artifact to what she was doing just by virtue of the fact that she just opened herself up with so much rage and just pulled whatever.
Yeah.
You know, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I see what you're saying. Like it's
That's
not
what
like,
I'm thinking.
yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I see Brother Buddha saying, I say that he can see Nynaeve is burning brightly because she is ta'veren. So some book, some of those that have read the books believe that is. I can feel Nablus without even like directly looking at him. I can just feel the shaking, and so this is also a point of contention. And I want to ask everybody this question. Almost over 800 of you voted on this. 76% say that Logain's not seeing weaves here. They don't think that change has been made. So that seems to be consensus that it's something else. So I'm going to ask everybody, what is Logain seeing? And I think one of the first things is like he's sensing channeling. How about that? And he's just reacting to it. Or he's seeing an actual light artifact. And then I'll put Brother Buddha's and the one you brought up. Is this a ta'veren thing? So, okay. And I already know
We'll
where
get to see how many people are wrong. We'll get to see how many people are wrong here.
Okay, here we go. I know everyone's going to say, like, why can't I say multiple? Too bad. You have to pick one of those. That's it. You don't get to...
Send a feature request to Twitter.
Exactly.
Or YouTube or whatever.
While we're kind of getting that, what did you want to add anything to that conversation, this idea of what's happening before we move on from, Logain and what he's either seeing or sensing?
Do I want to add anything? Well, okay. So let's talk about this before you guys make the wrong vote in the chat. It's not ta'veren, and I can give a bunch of reasons why. First of all, Logain is looking right at Nynaeve. If it was, let's just hypothetically say Nynaeve was a ta'veren in the show, and Logain still has the talent for seeing them. He wasn't shying away from her when she was standing there. It wasn't until she channeled that he did. So it's not seeing ta'veren that was the light. Rand was not channeling in Camelin when Logain sees him and is laughing at him because he sees how strong he is. So that's not what this was. Nynaeve is also very likely not a ta'veren. The only time ta'veren has been mentioned in the TV show so far was an offhand comment for Moraine where she talks about rumors of 4 of them, with Egwene being considered the other one. I don't think that they mean that that's Nynaeve. And I know that seems like it makes sense because we don't have a good explanation for why Logain was hiding his eyes. I think it's very likely in the camp of what Jess had said. There was some visual element that was going on, or they've changed something with how weaves are visual. Like maybe we can't see the weaves, but we can see results of channeling per se.
Right.
So
Dawson Cowles just said everyone in the room was reacting to the explosion of light, not just Logain. So that's a good call out. And it seems like almost 800 voted on this poll, and seeing an actual light artifact is kind of the one that's winning out here. My guess is there's probably, hopefully there's, I hope they keep that in this, which is some type of sensing of channeling. I hope that is a thing, if you will.
Agreed.
But yeah, that everyone in the room reacting. Unfortunately, I don't have that clip nor a screenshot, but that does lead us to believe that is what's actually happening there. And so, yeah, good points. Good points. Okay. So outside of Logan, there's so much that's going on there. I want to jump to Liandrin. Liandrin says something to the effect when she's talking to Karine. She says, all he would have to do is escape, basically, and then we could gentle him here. Like that's how something like that. And then you see also later on when the attack happens, you see that Liandrin's there with Karine, and she says something like, "Oh, don't worry, they're not going to get past 7 full Aes Sedai." And immediately in that moment, it was like 7, something like that. And then immediately in that moment, that's when you have Logain break out of his shield. Mm-hmm. So the question I have for both of you is Liandrin lessening her shield here and purposely allowing Logain to escape? Do you think that is part of what's happened here? Because we kind of get some exposition that at least leads to the possibility. So I see you kind of thinking about this. Jess, what do you think?
I strongly suspect that that is the case. I actually, when I was doing my reaction video as I was watching it for the first time, when we started getting into that conversation, I don't remember exactly at which point it was, but I'm like talking to the screen going, oh, she's gonna drop her shield. She's gonna drop her shield. Like, they made a point of saying that they need to have two people at all times. She feels so strongly that they should gentle him because if for no other reason that they can't make it all the way to Tarvalon, having to exert so much effort to keep him shielded, which I honestly like, I get where she's coming from. They're already exhausted and they're nowhere near Tarvalon. Like, that's just like not sustainable. But yeah, I strongly suspect that she did that on purpose.
Okay. Yeah, that's it's an interesting point because it kind of makes you kind of somewhat agree with Leandrin. Is they said specifically like they only have 3 or 4 of them can do any of the shielding, and that he's really strong. And could they actually make this trip? And is he just basically what she's alluding to is he's just basically going to free himself and kill them all or whatever? If in other words, like how long can they keep this going? So yeah, it's a great question. I want to catch up on some comments here. Unreason said, "Well, sure, but Nablus also virtually guaranteed that the show wouldn't play up the mystery of the Dragon Reborn."
Not true. I said that it would not be. It's not going to change, and it still isn't going to change.
Yeah, Unreason. There you go. There's your answer on that. Talmana said she became a Taviran dying on that hill. That's what's fun about this is, and people brought this up, and we've talked about this. We all get to kind of die on new hills. We all are dying on new hills again, which as a book reader, that's a lot of fun. If you spent the last many years online dying on hills, it was a lot of fun. If you're just new to it, it's a lot of fun. So Christopher, welcome. I like this one. Bella is the 4th Taviran. Yes, it's completely accurate.
Wrong rumors there.
That seems the most likely.
Appreciate. I like this tip and comment. Taviran isn't a permanent condition. However, I like the artifact aspect. Yes, that's true. Taviran is not. I hope they don't treat it that way in the show. I hope it's just used the same way in the books. It's going to be interesting. That would be really weird to just like a 1-year-old Taviran. That'd be strange. Right. That'd be like the worst. And I probably missed a couple of years. Other comments. Oh yeah, here we go. Karini saw their own weaves bending under Logain's weaves, and she reacted to that with her Battleaja instincts. Yes.
I agree with that. I actually was going to bring that up if we ever got to that point. You could see when they were on Logain and he had those power darts sort of pushing through. You could see that it was pushing through the shield. Even if she didn't see the weaves, she would have seen that. So that is what I assume led her to realize that something was going to happen. So
like everyone's mentioning hills they're dying on. William Bradley, Logan could see her channeling. I'm dying on that hill. Michael Maxwell said, I died on the hill where the song was far more significant. This is why I love all you guys. Fans are all reacting in their own way to all this stuff, and I love it. Okay, I want to ask this question to everybody in chat, and then go to you, get Nablus, get your thoughts on this. Did Leandrin, what do we call it, sabotage the shield? How about that? Yes or no, everybody? Do you think it was basically done on purpose? What do you think about this idea or this question, Nablus?
I think the answer is yes. And again, we're in full book spoilers, correct?
Yes, full book spoilers right now. If
they are setting up something that happened off screen in the books. It is actually pretty significant, and it has a lot to do somewhat with Leandrin and the Red Aja in general. So the whole thing with Owen that Tom describes, right?
Yeah.
Is the description of the vileness, which was something that happened before the story of the books, but essentially that was pushed by the Black Aja. They went around gentling and killing men that could channel because they were trying to get rid of the Dragon Reborn. That's what they were doing. So they were not standing them for trial, which would explain why Leandrin was willing to burn herself out to get Logain. Like, that is, in her mind, I mean, spoilers, she's a dark friend. She's a Black Aja, right? And if they're keeping that plotline the same, it makes more sense that she would be willing to do that because she's going to get rewarded for it or whatever. because I get the feeling they really do kind of think that he might be the Dragon Reborn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because of his strength. Like they made a number of comments about he is stronger than anybody they've seen. Or Alana says that. And I did think it was odd they only linked when they wanted the gentle and they didn't link to shield him, which would have made it a lot easier to do that, but that was odd. Now I saw a comment, and I don't know why. I've seen this like 3 times in the last couple of days. I think it's a misconception from the books. I think is worth addressing at least.
Okay, go for it.
People are saying that there are you have to have 13 Aes Sedai to gentle a man, and the answer to that is no. It's just traditional that Aes Sedai did that. If you're strong enough to do it, you're strong enough to do it. They don't need that many. It's just tradition, because with 13 you always can.
Well, not only that, you have a quorum. People aren't out there enacting vigilante justice. They're going to a trial, and maybe it's a show trial, but, at least there's the appearance of, quote unquote justice. And then, if you have to have 13 sisters linked, like, you have that many people agreeing that this is the right course of action. Which,
well, I see another comment in chat. They need 13 Aes Sedai to shield a man properly. That's also not true. It's just 13 is the traditional number they used. They make a couple comments that's just tradition.
By the way, there's something about that as book readers which I love also, which is none of us know everything. And I love what I mean by that is I love getting together like this and just kind of chatting through and getting us all on the same page if we can on where, because I don't know a lot of the traditions of the Aes Sedai. That's not a place where I've focused as a reader that much. And so it's like some of the stuff I hear and I'm like, I think it works this way. So yeah, I appreciate you addressing those. I love this comment, Alan. The other Aes Sedai can see exactly what Liandrin is and is not doing, dying on that hill. Yes, Liandrin is not very sly about what she's doing. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, she's outspoken about what she thinks. Well, and I think another point that I want to bring up is when Stefan and Karena are talking in her tent, and Karena says that even Liandrin wouldn't go against the Amyrlin seat, and Stefan's like, there are still Reds who are doing this out in the field. Like, that's still happening. So, the vileness is not necessarily a past thing. There are still Reds who are enacting, justice on their own. So, I think that's worth pointing out as well.
Yep. Yeah. And like, I think Brian, I think this is true. I saw this in chat. A man could not overwhelm a circle of 13. In other words, like that is, and I think people are pointing this out that they had 6 or 7 when Rand was in the box. I think that's what was the case. We're gonna do something here. We're gonna open the call lines. You're gonna have to wait a while to get in to chat with us because we can't just take all the calls. We're gonna be having different discussions. We'll bring a call in, have a chat, then we'll go back to discussing some of these pieces. There is so much to break down in this episode. I want to ask, what was the question here? Oh, yeah. How did Logan break the axe and send it flying into the room? That was an interesting kind of thing that they added in this. By the way, did Liandrin sabotage the shield? 65% believe that Liandrin did. So they're leading us down that road as viewers. That's for sure.
I feel like that's fairly classic her.
What do you think about that? The idea of that shield being, because people are misunderstanding maybe that shield, the nature of that shield, and maybe it's a little bit misunderstanding because it's like he's being shielded and he's being held. Like there's like a couple things going on there, right? Like he's being shielded from the one power, but he's also being held in place. And so the idea that something from the outside could pierce the thing that's holding him in place. Like I think they took a little bit of license there to do something really interesting. I don't know. How did you feel about that?
Well, I think 2 things on that. I think they absolutely did, because number one, what we know of Logain's strength level, and we know he's pretty much at his strength right now. 2 women could not shield him of Alana and Moraine's strength. They're not strong enough to do it. Because he could break through that easily. So that they're already doing something different there, if that makes any sense. Like that's different from the books. Logain is as strong as the most powerful Forsaken, 1 step below Rand in terms of strength.
If they're keeping that.
If they're keeping that, like I said, if they're keeping that. So something changed there. But the other piece on that is they are like the axes went through the shield, if you will. Like they were kind of part way through in the way they're depicting it. Like Logan was fighting the shield.
Sure.
So it wasn't settled in on him. It was 2 feet away from him, right? So like he was able, once they were in, to essentially shatter the axes. And that's what stopped the other shields, because they went into, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's what they were doing.
That's the way that I interpreted it as well. Once the axes sort of broke that plane, he was able to use his own power to deflect them and then, split the blades and stuff. So.
Okay. I like this. Was Logan always able to break the shield?
And it's possible that he was.
Yeah. He could have just been playing a game.
Kind of playing with it. Yeah. I'm seeing that in
well,
chat, and that makes sense. I mean, because he pushes against it, and they were talking like no sweat. He wasn't like being taxed by what was happening, and
it wasn't like
sense.
he was. Yeah. He wasn't trying, right? Well, and something that he said at the beginning of the episode when he had the King of Galdon cornered, the Aes Sedai shouldn't fear me; they should be following me. He didn't kill the King of Galdon. He recruited him to his side. Said specifically that he doesn't want to break the world. It's sort of implying that he doesn't actually want to hurt people if he doesn't have to. And so maybe what he's hoping to do is get to the tower and then be able to maybe talk to the Amyrlin and start recruiting them over to his side. So, it could be that he was playing chess while they were playing checkers,
Yeah, I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense that he almost wanted to be captured. And I don't know how familiar he'd be with how this process works, but it wouldn't be surprised that he thought he could convince. He's a believer, right, in his own, in what he's drinking, right? Like his own Kool-Aid here. He, as you see him talk to the king, which I loved that cold open, him talking, and we're gonna jump there while we're still talking about Logan here. I want to throw this comment up from Sugar Honey. I got the impression that Logan was waiting for his army. I thought he could have broken at any point. Yep. Yeah, I think that is totally reasonable, where they thought they actually could contain him, and they were severely mistaken about that.
Keep in mind, too, they even make the comment, he's not even breaking a sweat. He's just sitting there.
Yeah.
He wasn't. He wasn't struggling against it. He was.
Yeah. Right. It seems like people are believing in that. I'm looking at the poll right now in chat. About 500 people have voted, and was Logan always able to break the shield? 72% of you so far have voted yes on that one. So... yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I want to jump to that. We can jump back to this topic, but I want to jump to that cold open because there's some stuff that happens that is ridiculous. Let me bring our first caller in. I know you're like, wait a second, there's callers. Yeah, people have watched the show for a long time, so they're like, they know. Sorry, they know where they know how to get the call line. There you go. There's your call line. 1-313-825-5968. That's 1-313-825-5968. You can give us a call. Like I said, you may be on hold, possibly for an hour. It's possible. Let's bring our first caller in, and then we'll jump to the cold open here. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Hi, this is Natalie. Sherbert Mango in chat.
Sherbert Mango. Natalie, thank you very much for calling in. So, what's the comment you wanted to make or a question you had for us?
So it's just a tiny thing, but the doll that Helga in the show gives
you're having us jump to the doll. Okay.
Yeah, just as I was thinking about it, because not only do they name drop Brigitte, but the doll that stood out to me in the books was the one that the Death Watch guard had kept from Tuon. And I don't know if they're relating it at all, but it was just a thought that I had whenever I saw that. And I don't know.
Gotcha. Yeah. Wow, you went even further with that one. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's a pretty deep one. This inclusion. What did you think about that, Sherbert Mango? The inclusion of this story of Brigitte and basically what she says. I'm trying to get the. Remind myself of the quote. I think she says, shoot, I thought I took down this quote.
Something about Brigitte always watching out over me when I'm sleeping. I didn't know if maybe it was a good...
No, go ahead.
Maybe it was a good way to introduce the Hunters for the Horn, and whenever we see her at that point, And then obviously she has, long-standing future implications. But I just thought it was like in one little tiny thing, a good way to bring a lot of options.
Yeah, there's so much. Oh my gosh, there's so much. So you brought up a couple things. Gives us a little kind of nod to the Heroes of the Horn, which is, you can talk about this person again and they're going to call back to this doll. The idea that she's protecting, I thought it was like in her dreams or something. I thought there was something having to do with dreams. Am I wrong in thinking that? I thought it said something like that. Yeah,
I just made a connection with Teleron Riyadh because that's where Birgitte is. So she watches over me while I sleep. Maybe she sees her in dreams.
Well, keep in mind too who they're talking to. It's Matt.
You're right. Right.
Matt is like Matt of that little crew. There is the best one to set up Birgitte with because
Well, we're full book spoilers, so I think you can say this idea that Matt calling back to this idea of almost like creating some kind of level of trust. He'll think about when he hears that name, he'll think about this little girl and this moment and someone that protects. And I can totally see this being just a little kind of thread into creating that relationship and why that relationship works. And I just love that they did that. Like, I don't know, this one really hit me. I was like, and I did not see it the first time through. It was people making the comment later, and I was like, oh, I feel like an idiot for not noticing this one.
While we're back in this area too, I want to come back to the book spoiler that we couldn't talk about earlier.
Okay.
The dagger and the Fade being afraid.
Yes.
That is totally canon. I mean, not canon like from the books, because the dagger is that Shadar Logoth, like, there were more than one reason why Shadowspawn were afraid of it. Yes, there was the story of them all dying inside of Shadar Logoth, but additionally, like, keep in mind, like, Fane uses that dagger to nail a Myrddraal to a door, and like
it's a good
that inner darkness sees the shadow, like it's suspicious of things, and that's why when Matt's like, I see you, and points the dagger at it, like, I actually think it was hiding from that. I really do.
I love that. Let me ask everybody.
That hadn't occurred to me, but I love that.
Do you think the Fade was hiding from Matt? Okay, there's so much to go there. Sherbert Mango, we're going to let you go. Let me get your answer to this. Do you think the Fade was hiding from Matt?
I think it's very possible from what Naves was bringing up about when Vane had the dagger. I could definitely see those implications. So,
I love it. We're going to keep it. We'll keep the conversation going about Birgitte. I always say Birgitte. It's pronunciation. No, thank you very much for bringing this one up. I threw myself an image of this. I'll throw it up on the screen. It is like an adorable scene in this show. I always love any of Matt's interactions with little kids. Is like my favorite part.
So cute.
It's so good. Hey, we'll talk to you soon, Natalie. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, okay, we got to talk about this. Both this section, I think we can kind of cover a lot of these. But here's the image. Like, that's just an adorable image right there. I love this idea that they're connecting Matt already to this character in like such a subtle way. It's just really, really hopeful. It's certainly hopeful. I hope we get this part in the books. I want us to get there just for this moment to kind of see it connect.
Well, you know what? Stuff like this, Rafe said in his AMA that there's still a whole bunch of little Easter eggs and things that he hasn't seen people find yet.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring up one that you just brought up, the nailed against the door thing. If you go back to watch that scene, the camera shows Tom blurred, and it shows like the knife stuck in the one of the knives that he'd thrown at him stuck in the thing. And I was like, why would they just show us that? Like, he has a bunch of knives. Like, why care to? No. But you just brought up the nailing the Fade into the door, and I'm like, okay, I'm going with that's a subtle like Easter egg right in that moment.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Well, there is obviously something they're doing, because the whistling that's happening, right? Like they had the whistling with Fane, both, and then in Shadar Logoth, and I don't know what it means yet. Like totally, like not all put together, but there are obviously things they're doing with foreshadowing that they're going to pay off later. We hope.
Oh, toss the dice. Great freaking comment. Okay, let me cover some comments really quick. There's been so many coming in. Toss the dice. The daughter was outside. Could Brigitte had told her in her dream to leave the house? Oh, I love that. I love that idea. It might not have saved her, but I love that's a great call out.
That's my headcanon now. That's fact as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, right. And then there's this comment. I see you as the best line of this episode. Also, the Fade is named Steve. Oh, yes. And great. Brian has a great question that we need to come back to, Brian. Why do you think the Aes Sedai couldn't feel Nynaeve's power? Was it her block that kept it hidden? That's, yeah. How many hours are we going to go on here? Okay, Brian, we need to come back to.
I'm available all day. So.
Not feeling
I am not,
Nynaeve's power. Nablus is like, I have videos to make.
Yes.
No, that's anything else to kind of call out about the Fade that kind of struck you, Jess, that you thought was really well done about that particular scene?
Well, I remember from when we saw that just tiny clip of the scene where the Fade was fighting Tom inside that house, people had commented that it didn't look like the Fade moved in like a preternaturally kind of fast way. Yeah. But watching it in the episode, it looked like it did. One of the first things I noticed is that he crossed the room real fast, almost looked like he wasn't walking. It didn't even feel like there was like a stride there. So, I think that we actually kept that detail. Also, that fight scene was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it had to do with, I think they used how they filmed it to create some of that. Rafe said, when he talked about Loyal, and this kind of struck me actually when it was the Fade, he mentioned with Loyal that they wanted to use as much as practical effects as possible. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have to pay the cost of each one of the scenes when it came to doing some CGI stuff with that character. I wondered the same thing with the Fade here because it seemed like they were using some cuts of how they filmed it to create that kind of speed, if you will, and using a more kind of practical Fade, if that makes sense, than something you might see in Harry Potter, if you will. So yeah, that's what the second time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, you can see how they're creating some of that kind of super speed, if you will. And I hope
it felt really subtle, but yeah, I definitely picked up on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat.
The call out for me I want to give on that scene before we move on from that is him yelling "run." Oh man, like the run gave me the chills. Oh. Gave me the chills as a book reader. I was like, oh yeah, this is we don't get this moment in Whitebridge, but we get Tom
we get the moment.
We get the moment. It's just not.
It doesn't matter where the moment is. We got it, and I love it.
Yeah.
If I were gonna, there were only like 3 or 4 pieces of like nitpicking I had from the episode, and I loved that scene. The only nitpick I would have with it is that it ended so quickly. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was like run, and then they pieced out and left Tom without even remorse. Like, I wish it had been more ambiguous. Like they still did leave it to our imagination what happened to Tom, but yes, I wish that it had been more overtly ambiguous, if that makes any sense. Like,
sure,
yeah,
but they made it look like he died or something. I don't know. It just
Well, it was the way that they did it in the books was he told them to run. They started hauling ass, and they heard him screaming.
Yeah,
which is why they assumed that he was dead. So, if they had added that back in even, it would have, first of all, made it even more harrowing, and then also made it, implied it a little more strongly that Tom did not survive that encounter.
Right.
If that's what they're going for.
By the way, do you think the Fade was hiding from Matt? 84%, almost 900 of you voted on that one. 84% of you said you think that it was. Yeah. Good call out, Nablus, on that one. I like this question. I'm going to try to go through a couple of them. We might not be able to do a full discussion. There's a question about Logan and Nynaeve. Will Nynaeve still try to heal him later after he almost killed Lan? I love that. I love them setting up some conflict there. Again, just a really great call out. And I think what you brought up, Nablus, was really interesting. How much people loved this episode, even though it was the most different. And I think it's the connective tissue, as we refer to it, right? It was them taking from the books and sometimes creating just scenes out of whole cloth, but taking the actual scene and just configuring it to work with the actors that they had at the time, you know, and what they could actually shoot. And that's what I think Rafe has always been talking about. And it's interesting to see his vision for that actually come to fruition, and just how much everyone loved this episode. I'll be honest, 3 is still my favorite as of right now. And I say 3 like that because I have only watched this episode a couple times. Like, if I watch it a little bit more, it might grow on me as a better episode. There's that, I can't get away from it, the teenage side of me that just loves the beats when Matt and Rand are alone. But this has the one with Tom, and so it still kind of continues it. So I guess maybe for me, it's like 3, 4 are kind of in the same area, but I think I would still lean to 3 as my favorite at this moment. Okay. There are like people waiting in call here. I want to go to you, Nablus, though, and get a next topic. Where do you want to push us from a topic standpoint from this episid?
Let's talk about Lan and Nynaeve.
Okay, let's do it. Little Lan and Nynaeve, yeah, I love it. So yeah, start us off there. What is it that kind of hit you and made you want to talk about this?
Well, let's talk about something. I mean, again, I think there's a lot of criticism online about what's different from the books and what the books do better. I want to talk about something right now that I think the show is doing a magnitude of 20 times better than the books. And that's setting up the relationship with Lan and Nynaeve. I mean, Nynaeve, I'm not shy about this. Nynaeve is my favorite character in the series. And so right. I want to see her do well in the show, and she is. Zoe's killing it. But that relationship feels real now. Like, whereas in the books, I think for some people it comes out of nowhere. Like, there's subtle signs in the books that it's there. But Robert Jordan's strength was never writing relationships. I think we all know that.
Yeah.
Right. This is where we start. Like, I really feel like they're headed in a genuine direction there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, Daniel mentioned that he thought there was, like, in an interview, I think it might even been the one I did in the live stream, talked about chemistry, I thought, with characters, with other people in the show.
They had it in person.
Hand down.
I mean, they had chemistry.
Yeah, they did.
We saw them in person, Matt.
Yeah.
Like, they're so I you see it in the show too. There is just a chemistry there that I don't think is in the book.
Yeah.
And again, these are the things that I think a visual medium does have the ability to do better, because they can show this stuff. And I think that I think this is one area where it's not even really a question in my mind that the show is doing a better job than the book.
Yeah. No, I think that is accurate, and this is the word that came to me. I know this sounds weird, but like, it humanizes them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I've felt the entire show that I've seen so far is I've read the book so many times, but some of the attributes of just being a human being kind of never came off the page for me. You know, it's this idea of like, Lan is a stoic warrior and never has any other feelings. You know, like, there's a way to kind of go there, and they've like, oh no, Lan can kind of crack a smile here when he's with his actual friends, you know, but in, you know, maybe in front of others where he doesn't know them, he's this way, and giving him some complexity that I wouldn't have expected and to have liked so much as a viewer. Mm-hmm. I do want to call this out, and so Forley mentioned this as we're talking about this, this idea of Nynaeve's heritage and Lan knowing the phrase that her parents said to her. What do you think about that? Do you think that is a little, like, obviously maybe shifting a little bit from the books and building up some other idea? What do you think is going on here, Jess?
I don't have any theories about where they're going with it, but I really enjoy the idea that, you know, Nynaeve was an outlander, that she has a history outside of the Two Rivers that obviously had an impact on her. I love the fact that she had this kind of mantra that came from her parents that she, you know, that they used when she was afraid. And she was able to use that as a way to connect with Lan when she came across him praying. You know, that scene I think was genius because it set up the fact that Nynaeve has an outside the Two Rivers backstory that she actually remembers. And it helped to set up some of Lan's stuff too. You know, talking about the 7 towers and, you know, the kingdom that we're going to get back in this life or the next, that kind of thing. I think I got off topic, what do I think they're doing with it? I don't know what they're doing with it, but they're doing a great job.
Yeah, that's no. What you're saying is basically like we might not know exactly what they're doing, but they are kind of building out something here. Like this, they're setting us up for something. Do you have any theories here, Nablus, and what do you think they're setting us up for? Any in chat has any theories on this one?
There are a lot of things that there are possibilities. I mean, so I don't think it's going to be something crazy like Nynaeve is Valkyrie or something like. Right. Like I don't think it's
I didn't even think about that.
Well, I know, but I think I think that's where some people might jump here with this because but it might be something that people did know of the fall of Valkyrie, right? It happened roughly 50, 60 years before the start of the story, 50 years or so, right before the start of the story. So that would have been fresh in their like her parents' minds if she's 25 and let's assume they were 25, right? That's about that time where they would know that.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So,
like her parents could have some heritage.
Or they could know of it, or the story got around, or maybe Jane Farstrider wrote it in a book or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
the point being here is that there could be all kinds of things. I think what's more interesting to discuss on that part is she says her village was attacked, which does not sound like it's a Two Rivers style village, if that's the case. So the question then becomes, where is she from, and how could the wisdom of the Two Rivers adopt her if she's from that far away? So it adds in like a lot of what could that have been?
It's only ripe for speculation. This goes down that theory route, which I love. Rant Almore said in chat, was Nynaeve's village attacked by Aiel? Timing seems to match.
I was going to say maybe her village was attacked during the Aiel War.
But if you're now again, there's always changes. But if she's 25, which has been stated in the show, that's before the Aiel.
Yeah,
the Aiel War only lasts.
Well, yeah, but she would have been. She would have been small at that time. Yeah, she would have been 5 years old. She would remember things.
Yeah, the age there, and Rant Almore mentioned that the age of it seems like they could be going there, right? Again,
that's possible. That is possible.
That is.
I mean, 5 years old is old enough to remember a ritual that you did with your parents at specific points in time. Yeah,
that's
any younger than that, it would start to get a little bit sketchy as to whether or not she'd actually have a memory of that. But by the time she's 5, she would clock it and she would remember.
Yep. I'm seeing a lot of people like, is she lost Valkyrie? Royal blood of Manetheren. Okay,
honestly,
well,
I kind of love the idea that she's actually from Manetheren. I love that. Or not Manetheren, from Valkyrie.
I don't think it'll be that far, but it also is tying into something else here. I'm wondering if more than Tam fought in the Aiel War. Again, this is me totally speculating. I'm just going out on a limb here, but I'm also thinking Abel Cawthon being such a drunk, maybe he's a veteran. Maybe and maybe that's the setup for later when we come back to the two. We have no information on that, by the way. I'm just totally speculating. But
I like that idea.
The idea that somebody else could have brought Nynaeve back as a child, because it doesn't make sense to me if her village was attacked by Aiel and she lives 1,000 miles away on the other side of Andor, how she could have ended up in the Two Rivers.
Well, people are pointing this out, right? That she brought up something about the statement was about Manetheren. So why would they have used something about Manetheren way on the other side? That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means, I think I'm going to put this out there for a poll. Nynaeve's heritage, royal blood of Manetheren, Valkyrie, or other. We'll see what people have to say here. I love these ideas. Y'all are crazy, which is awesome. I like this comment. I want to put this out on biggest problem Robert Jordan had as a writer is that he didn't have Robert Jordan to learn from. But he was a master of the unreliable narrator. I totally agree with that. And I love that they're digging into that as a show.
Well, I think one of the things I like the best with what they're doing with Lan and Nynaeve is that we're getting the interactions that presumably happened off the page. And I love it. I'm a sucker for a romance. Yeah. Nablus knows that based on, my reading history. But I am so glad that they're doing that because I shipped them very early on, and I'm loving seeing it in more detail.
Sure. Okay, let's bring our next caller into the show. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
This is the Master of the Deck. Hello, everyone.
Master of the Deck. How
Hey,
you doing?
girl.
Hello there.
You waited, and now what is the comment you wanted to make, Master of the Deck?
Well, first of all, the very first time that I called into the Dusty Wheel was when Jess was on. So every time she's on, I call. So I'm not gonna take your time. But I remember your comment from last week, Matt, about how episode 3 felt like a love letter to book fans.
Yeah.
And I honestly felt that way about this episode,
Sure.
more so than the last one, at least. And maybe you don't agree, but this episode was it was constantly, there were just these little things everywhere that felt like they were for us, absolutely being used to build the world and tell the story as well. But it's like things that other people aren't going to have the same significance for,
Yeah.
So my question is, was there something small, something that just like stuck in your mind? Like, obviously I could yell about Logan for, 2 hours, but was there something small, one of these little Easter eggs, I guess Rafe would call them, that really stood out to you personally?
Ooh, I'm gonna let Nablus go first because he likes to go first in these questions.
Do I? Do I? So to make sure I heard the question right, Kayla, you wanted to know what Easter eggs, or did I hear that wrong?
What Easter egg meant the most to you?
Yeah. Was there some sort of small thing that you saw or heard just from like a line of dialogue or like a little costume thing that was like, that's a book thing and I love it?
Honestly, it's the Reds. I think it's a deep cut. I look for the underlay. Like I said, I've been talking a lot about the way that they've used and not used exposition in the story so far. They've done a lot of showing and not necessarily telling, or when they have been telling, it's been cleverly disguised as good dialogue. So we've rarely had an instance where a character is talking to somebody who already knows what they're talking about, because that's what shows do. It'd be like one Aes Sedai talking to another. Well, Aes Sedai are blankety, like you would never say that, and that's usually bad exposition, right? I mean, you're a writer. You're a very good writer. What I think the show has done a great job of is when they have had to give expositional type things, like again, like the difference between the green Aja and the blue. They've worked that in so that those things sound realistic in the universe, in the in-world, and that's the kind of stuff that I'm appreciative of, because they've dropped a lot of book knowledge. Now, if you want like a more flashy like Easter egg, to me, it was the Fae being afraid of the dagger, because I thought that was awesome.
On point.
That I see you and points at him. I thought that was awesome. So
yeah, that was
just no fear, just straight up like,
yep.
I loved it.
Like he was hunting the Fae almost.
Yeah. I thought maybe the girl would survive that. Like maybe he had woken up in time for that. So when I saw that she had been killed too, I was like, wow, that's really depressing. Thank you, writers, for just digging in there. Ouch. And then they show like as they're riding away, they show the little doll on the side of the road. And you're like, damn. Okay. What about you, Jess? Is there one that stands out for you Easter egg wise?
In this episode, I think the one that really stood out the most to me was the doll. Obviously, I think we already talked about it. Everybody who's read the books is going to remember that. They know who Brigida is. They know her significance. And, just that little subtle introduction to it is like, it was delightful. I bounced up and down in my chair a little bit. I was extremely excited about Brigida. So,
okay, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to give you a couple. Because these are like, we haven't talked about them and we can jump back to these. There's an awesome one that hit me again the second and third time I saw this was when whatever you want to call the voices speaking to Logan, we haven't really gone there just yet. One says to him, he hears, none of them understand what you are going to be or become. And I just loved that from a book perspective, right? Because that's that kind of Min seeing like future glory kind of ideas around him. And I like that that's like totally just throwing that out to us as fans. Tom not helping cleaning the stalls, on point. That was amazing. That was so cool. That was like so great.
Oh,
if you'd been
man.
cleaning them, that would have been like so out of place. And then you had Aram, when he's speaking with Egwene, says like something like, I think the quote is, and even some of them like pick up the sword and go to war. I don't know, something like that. He made a comment.
Some of them, some of them go to war.
Yeah,
some of them take up arms.
And I was like, wink. Like it was just a really good one. It was like, oh, like I didn't like Aram this much and they're making me like him in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I like.
Oh
him
my
as
God,
just
I know,
like
right?
Like him is like a different statement. That's not. I mean, they're making me understand him in a way that
we get a lot more.
Yeah,
we get a lot more of his motivation. Like we understand. Like he just sort of like left the Tinkers, and we're like, why did you do that? But now we understand he's disillusioned. He doesn't buy into the way of the leaf, and he's going to take advantage of the opportunity to go out into the world because he's like, this is honestly, this is stupid. And I love that they fleshed that out more.
Yeah. I have one small piece of criticism with that. Okay. I agree with you on the Aram stuff. I love that they've made Aram more likable. He's actually charismatic, right? We have a lot going on there. I did not like the Amish nod there that they had, where it's basically like we send them off when they're 20 and let them do what they want, and then they can come back to us. Like that was literally straight out of, I forget the term for it, but it's
Rumspringa.
Yeah, Rumspringa. Thank you. That's basically what that was, and I feel like they're setting up Aram to do his Rumspringa rather than leave the Tinkers, and I would rather see Aram leave and have them essentially disown him, and so he sticks with Perrin. I would rather see that than him just out testing the waters of the world, and I feel like they're setting that up. I could be wrong on that, but like,
yeah, I mean, you get the story, right? Ela is talking to Perrin, and you get a little bit of his backstory there. Yeah. So I feel like they're giving him more reasons than that. But I see what you're saying. That's true. A cleaner cut there would have been nicer of like why he would have left, and he was maybe rejecting something, not just kind of like taking advantage of an aspect of how they work. Yeah, I like that. Mash of the Deck.
I don't know how old he is. You know, he might not be old enough to take his, sabbatical. And, maybe he's 19 and he's just going to go off and be like, you know what, screw it. I'm not waiting. I want out of this,
That's true. They could kind of have him leaving early because of it or something. Yeah. I feel like maybe I can't tell that they gave us that to kind of make it less odd on purpose, so you're not so kind of suspect of him. I don't know. Anyway, it's an interesting question.
Mash of the Deck. Too on the nose. That's all.
That one was. Yeah. Mash of the Deck for you. Before we let you go, did you have one that stood out to you that you want to mention that hasn't been mentioned yet?
Well, I like that you brought us back to the Tinkers. There were several moments in this episode that like made me a little misty, but when Isla's talking to Perrin and she tells the story about her daughter, she very specifically says that it's a broken spear in her daughter's chest that she tried to work up the courage to grab so that she could hunt down the beast like they had hunted her. And I was like, this is straight out of, the glass columns, I was like, yes, right there. As opposed, that whole conversation just, gave me feelings, but like that little nod to it being a spear specifically was gold.
Yeah. And then kind of maybe making Aram be in that similar age range potentially. And that could also be calling back to that same point in history. But yes, the spear mention, I missed the spear mention, so I'm in love.
That's a good call out.
That's so good. Well, thank you very much, Mash of the Deck, as always, for all you do around here, and thanks for calling in. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, girl.
Of course. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Okay, so almost 9 of you voted on this one, and let's go to it. Nynaeve's heritage. A lot of people love this idea of like maybe somehow connected to the royal blood of Manetheren. Like there's maybe some connection. I saw a user mention like, yeah, a couple thousand years ago. Like that's a lot, but I love that everyone loves this idea. And then other picked up 43%. So just kind of having a direct connection to Manetheren to me isn't as interesting. I mean, we all know that that's the connection, so it's weird to kind of just like call it out if it's not something more special or interesting than that. So, and then Jamie said this, Tam is descended from royalty of Manetheren, if anyone is. Aemon's full name is Aemon Alcarn Althorin, and Althorin becomes Althor. There's definitely in book awareness of that, or suggestion, like connection there to. What's funny is connection there, but not directly to Rand, if you will. These are another comment. Avienda said, Eela's story mirrors some of the Rudian flashbacks to the start of the Way of Belief, which was beautifully done as well to help explain that everyone is eventually reborn and spun back. How do you... I brought this up the other night. How do you like this, Nablus, as much as they're talking about rebirth? It keeps hitting me as a viewer and as a book reader. Like, I'm on the edge of like, that's too much. Like, stop talking about rebirth. And I don't know why it's hitting me exactly. And I'm trying to figure out like, but my brain keeps on saying like, don't keep talking about it. But it certainly is teaching people about the world in a way that takes some time to understand as a book reader.
So I actually feel the same thing, but I think I understand where it might be coming from, because it's such a cool reveal at when Rand's at the top of Dragonmount, right? That
yeah, sure, right.
You get to do this again, and they've essentially spoiled the line because they're repeating it over and over again now. I think that's where that comes from, because I mean, nothing they're saying is not canon. It is that is the way the wheel works, right? Yeah. And I think they are trying to get people to understand the mythology of the world without being so overt with it. So they're having these things come up. I'm wondering if they'll take a break from that and then have that be like the flashback. I'm picturing 7 seasons from now with Rand at the top of Dragonmount, hearing Tam's words from the first season saying, you know, you get to do it again. And, you know, just, I don't know. I'm wondering if they're just hitting that trope now and then they're going to drop it for a while. I don't know.
Yeah. That was probably where, because I'm like that is a big, that's like a reveal moment as book readers. Not a reveal because you know it already, but it's kind of like the line, like you're saying, that spoiling the line a bit. Maybe that's the feeling, that's the I'm getting. But it does teach people about the world in a way that maybe they'll call back to it. And I keep on thinking maybe they'll stop bringing this up, and so then we'll get that. And maybe that's what I'm waiting for. Like
in the chat, stop bringing it up? I just saw somebody mention too. Diana, I think it was, said they're setting up warriors attached to the Horn of Valir too, because I do think you're laying the groundwork for, if they do choose to do the Horn of Valir, that you're going to have the idea that these souls are in the world of dreams and that they can be reborn into the world and that type of thing.
That's a great. Okay, so. Who was it in chat that said that?
Diana L?
Thank you. I think you might have helped
Diana W.
Diana W. Thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense to me why they would bring it, because Heroes of the Horn is something very difficult to explain. like what? And so I think that helps me kind of get there as to why they're bringing it up a little bit more than I would have imagined. Heroes of the Horn. And look at that, on point. Left a tip and said, love the Dusty Wheel. The episode had me more excited about the Way of the Leaf than I ever have been. Peace is the ultimate revenge against violence. Yeah, that was a really cool line, really effective line for sure. Mm-hmm. And then Ivan just said, gonna have to be very comfortable with rebirth to be able to set up Moradin, Sindane, all these other things that happen. Having people be comfortable with that occurring, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So,
Another thought that I had about it as well is that it's possible, you know, I'm thinking 2 reasons for the repetition. First of all, for the sake of the audience to understand the concept, but also when we've heard it, it's been with people from different locations and different cultures. So what they're doing is they're establishing that this is a sort of belief system that transcends, you know, culture and geography, that, you know, the world at large buys into this idea that the Wheel of Time exists and their soul will be reincarnated at some point, you know. And I think it's important for people to understand that this is a widespread belief, not just the 2 rivers who believe it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Again, we only get point of view stuff from the books, and so maybe these conversations, maybe it's more realistic to believe these kind of conversations with death happening around people are happening more often than we're just used to hearing them as book readers too. So love it. Okay, I saw this comment, and it kind of comes up with we're still talking a little bit about we were talking about a little bit about Logan. Stubble McShave said, "What were your thoughts on the male and female manifestations, or male and female Sidene manifestations for Logan's madness? Do you think it'll be the same for the dragon's madness?" So, how did you feel about that kind of CGI effect? I actually really liked it. I didn't know how they would do this, and so for voices, I didn't want to see like you know how that cold open happens in episode 1. I was not like a huge fan of that, and I liked this manifestation of a voice better. So what did you think about this, Jess?
Excuse me. I really liked it. I think that it did a great job of illustrating, the mental health effects of the taint, specifically because those figures manifested so that they could be seen. And it made it clear, I think, that was a byproduct specifically of dealing with the tainted power. I feel like that's why they did it. I thought it was cool, honestly. I liked that there were multiple voices. I liked that one of them was a woman. I liked that they called back, some of his history. Evidently there was an issue with his parents and his sister. Perhaps when they realized he could channel, they rejected him or something like that. That just sort of adds another layer to, the more in-depth look that we're getting at Logan. So yeah.
I want to bring up
something. I'm into it.
Although was it trying to speak to this idea of previous lives? Because you get this kind of quip between Moraine and him where she's like, "You're just making all this crap up," So is he actually hearing like something from a previous life, or is it just like madness and telling him something? Is it like family he's come to believe that he has in a previous? Like there are the kind of playing with this, which I kind of like. What do you think, Naveless? Do you like how this presented in the show?
Yes and no. I like that particular thing. I don't want to see them do that again. I like the fact that the madness can be different. One thing, what I don't like is that they're setting up as madness is only hearing voices in your head.
Yes.
Because so far that's what we've seen. We've seen guy in the cold open seeing a person that isn't real, and then we've seen Logan hearing past versions of the dragon supposedly talk to him, telling him what he's going to be. Because I think what's missing there, like the first time I read the books, I did not think Rand was crazy. I thought Lews Therin was real, and this was just different than what people thought, and that nobody understood that they thought it was madness, but in reality, it was Lews Therin really helping, right? So, like, I think that if they do that, they have to. They might be taking away an opportunity to convince us of the same thing watching the show. That when we do find Lews Therin, or when he does become a part of this, if he does become a part of it, right? And I think they need to. I think that's actually a big part of Rand's growth is his conversation with this fake person. So I think you might be losing an opportunity there to play the same thing. So I'm wondering how they will flesh that out. Like, will we immediately think that Rand is crazy? And if so, that's, to me, I think that's missing something if we automatically assume that Rand is nuts.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
I feel like they are setting it up to be that it is always madness, like that's how it presents. But I thought Logan says something like, "Oh yeah, no, Tom," when he's talking about it. And I guess he doesn't specifically say voices, so I'm just hoping it doesn't manifest. He's talking about Owen, and he's like, "So men couldn't use it without going mad." They could. Hopefully, they do. We need other manifestations other than voices. I'll be really disappointed if that's all we get. That would be bad. By the way, to this question, almost 600 voted. Too much discussion of rebirth or just right? 86. Wow. 86% of you said just right. Okay. So I'm I'm not in the majority there. So okay, you didn't feel that same way as I did on that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
So I want to circle back to the madness kind of thing. So what if, because what we're seeing, let's work under the assumption that they're doing the same thing as Jordan did in the books, which is, making the narrators unreliable. Okay, so let's just say, what if the taint made it, there's some kind of connection to something somewhere that made it that this person, this individual person, like this person from a past life can come in and communicate, like on a soul level, they can communicate with the male channeler. Like the taint is a vector for that. So everybody thinks that they're crazy because they're seeing things that everybody else can't see, and they're hearing things that everybody else can't hear. But they're not actually crazy. It is actually the souls of, people from the past talking to them, because that's, everybody says, yeah, they go mad because that's what it looks like. But what if it isn't?
Like they're playing with that concept. That would be a change. A bit.
How does that explain them destroying cities and blowing up mountains? And I guess my pushback on it.
Oh, maybe their voices are bad influences.
Right. I guess my pushback on it is more that I think setting that up to be the only way that the taint manifests itself is, to me, pigeonholing them into something they don't need to do. Like, if they could even show stuff like, I forget which one it is. I want to say it's like, crap, I forget which Ashaman it is, but like sees fades everywhere. I want to say that's actually might be Andro that sees the fades.
I think so.
But stuff like that would be really cool to see. Like, and maybe when we get more Ashaman in the show, we'll understand that. But like,
yeah,
I just don't.
I think right now it's a dearth of male channelers at this point. We only have so many.
No.
Well, we have one.
Well, I like that. I like that he didn't necessarily follow the voice, and the voice was telling him kill, basically, and he didn't. I like that there was some complexity shown there, but like you said, it has to be that the madness drives them towards doing. That's what I didn't like about the cold open. Like I wanted the madness to not just be. Now, every madness doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to destroy the world per se. It can be some kind of madness that they're reacting to that does damage around them, right? Like maybe everyone's a spider, like that's they're just trying to kill spiders or whatever, like it can be a different form of that. So that guy at the beginning, maybe there was something he was doing that people were starting to go like, oh, this is dangerous. There's a ton of comments, ton of people calling in. Let me just cover a couple here. Rant Almore said, did Rand Tavir and Mr. Grinwell? That's a good question. I actually asked myself that question, which was when you see Grinwell kind of put his bow down, at first you're like, oh, he just kind of like logicked him. But then I was like, no, I like the little subtle Taviran. You guys both, I see both.
Yep,
Yeah.
I saw the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely Taviran. It was Taviran energy that turned that situation around.
Yes. That is, I like that they, again, subtle. Daniel Green is here. Daniel, good to see you. Said, I can prove
Hi,
episode
Daniel.
1 is the best episode with facts and logic. It had water butt. That's right. No other episode can claim episode 1 wins over this argument. Hey, whatever
Honestly,
does it for you.
You can't really argue with that logic. And not, I mean, I want to
It's
take
a really
it a step
good
further.
butt.
It's not even just water butt. It's Daniel Henney butt.
Yeah.
And, I know for a lot of people that carries a lot of weight. So it's hard to argue with that logic, honestly.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Great butt.
10 out of 10. Silvertooth said, I liked how he listened, but he did not do exactly what the voices were telling him to do. He exudes confidence in everything, which is also spot on. I agree. Like, his overwhelming confidence is so spot on. Also, Nameless, go blue. Go blue is what Silvertooth said.
Yeah, we already, good luck if you really want to die on that hill, Silvertooth. I'll bet.
Thank you very much for those comments. We haven't, I know you're probably out there freaking out because we haven't freaked out about Nynaeve just yet at the very end of this episode.
Did she do
kind of
something?
We talked about like Logan's side of that. We haven't. So I think we should freak out a little bit about that, because when I say freak out about it, I mean, that was pretty much Nynaeve was trending after last night's episode. Nynaeve was like the 9th or 10th trending topic. More so than the Wheel of Time, it was Nynaeve, because everyone was getting on and just like, Nynaeve, that's the tweet. Nynaeve, so we have to jump in there. Let me bring this next caller in, then we're going to jump to Nynaeve. And we'll go from there. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Hey, it's Andrew.
Andrew, how you doing, man?
It's Andrew. Pretty good. I'm actually, I guess I'm one of the minority that I did not like this episode as much as other people did. I only gave it probably about a 7.5.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. It had nothing to do with the changes from the book. It was more that there were certain placement of characters that it was just so jarring that I couldn't get past it. 2 examples. The first time is when we see the camp for the first time. We see Leandrin and the other 4 Reds, and it quickly goes to the tent where Kareen is getting, and I will only call her Kareen because that other pronunciation sounds stupid. She heals Moraine, and then they walk to see Logan, and basically they say, hey, at all times there has to be 2 people on the shield, and you see Leandrin sitting there with Alana. Like, how did Leandrin get there? Did she teleport? I mean, that bothered me. And the placement of the camp, the placement of the camp itself was tactically awful. They gave up the high grounds so they would be vulnerable to attack in a valley. They have this camp of definitely warders and presumably tower guards supporting them, and no one scouts. It was just, and then it had no, and Daniel Green pointed this out as well in his recap, but they had no plan on the fighting. It was just some mad rush to protect the entrance to where Logan, the cavern, and the rest will try to blow them up as best as we can. I mean, there really was for a bunch of very good militaristic individuals like warders should be and fighters, they had no plan.
Okay, I
like it. To me, that is what I couldn't get past that with regards to that whole, and that's what threw me out of this episode.
Okay, Jess, go for it.
Well, I have a counterpoint on the whole militaristic thing with the warders. They're individual fighters. They're not soldiers. They don't know how to command armies. They don't, theoretically, they probably will have some idea of how to set a camp up in a safe area, but I disagree that they should have been, absolutely prepared, because that's not what they do. No, that's ain't their job, man.
Okay, but I mean, some do. I mean, Land is ultimately seen in the books in the end as a very good, competent general. But
but he didn't set up the camp.
I'll give you that one.
He wasn't there.
So yeah, I actually
understood.
I think the first time I saw this episode, that was definitely like my reaction. The second time through, I guess I got out of that and just kind of into the story, So, but my reaction was like, how did they find themselves in the situation where they might be, capable of being defeated? Because they seem so confident, but maybe this is an overconfidence thing. I don't know. Enablis, what were you about to say?
I agree to a small extent. I mean, I think if we want to get into the nitpicky pieces, there are flaws in the episode. It's not a perfect episode. I still think it's the best of the 4. My bigger gripe has less to do with the Aes Sedai not knowing what they're doing, because frankly, they don't in the books either. Like they really don't. They're kind of all idiots, believe it or not, in the books.
Pure hubris.
So I don't, that part I buy. What I don't buy is the fact that there were no tower guard there. And I know that's budgetary. Okay. But it would have felt differently had you had 500 of the tower guard around as well. But instead we just have a few Aes Sedai and warders. That, again, that's a budgetary cut. They're not going to hire 500 extras to stage an army for a scene that actually isn't real fighting. But I do think that shows up. Like, I think that's missing. If I had to give an overall here, I'll tie this into my overall criticism. And again, I understand how we got here. This is entirely budgetary. My problem so far with the series is that it makes the world feel too small still. And a lot of that has to do is because people have just been traipsing around in the woods and we haven't gone to many locations. So the only city that we've really showed up in, we saw a glimpse of Gildon, of the capital, and then we saw a little mining town. So because of that, it feels like these characters are all wandering around and who knows where, and I don't know where they're at on a map, and I can't, like, it doesn't feel, and Lan just rode around the corner to go find this group of Aes Sedai when Moraine was sick and showed up. Like, again, the world feels small. So if I had to give a criticism, and we know where this is, it's entirely budgetary. It's cutting the 500 tower guard that should be with them. Yeah. It's the all that. So I'll shut up now, but like that's I think that ties into a little bit of what you're feeling in the episode, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Hey, Andrew,
Okay.
Andrew, thank you so much, man. I'm going to I have a comment on this too, but I appreciate you calling in, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye. Yeah, maybe it was like how big the army or small the army was that was attacking. Although, again, who's going to attack Aes Sedai? You know, other than like white cloaks. And so the amount of people that would attack and be willing to, like, you see that first episode, they chuck those arrows, and then just like they all get slaughtered by their own arrows. No. And so there is a kind of who was willing to actually go and attack was probably a much smaller group than maybe all the people that could have, if you step back from like, and so I think the hubris, that's where I've bought in, at least, is the hubris of like, no one's going to do this. There's no, you know, who would dare, if you will. And this assumption that like, well, if we have wards set and if those break, you know, okay, well, we'll be ready. I didn't like how there should have been somebody outside of those wards knowing what was coming. Like,
yeah, right.
The kind of surprise of it was like the overwhelming, like, okay, they're coming and we should be prepared. Felt like it was way too rushed. Like it should have they should have been like, they're attacking, we need to get ready for this. And so, yeah, that's the part that in the
way I think they could have gotten around it and kept within their budgetary. Like, I don't want to just criticize and not come up with a solution. Here's where I think they could have played more into the hubris of the Aes Sedai. Like, they could have emphasized the fact that they thought no one would dare, right? Like, and that way we're not even like, somebody might have even called out. Lan might have said, "Why aren't you prepared?" or something, and nobody would dare. They don't know we're here, or whatever reason would have explained that. And that's it's the same way I feel about the first episode with they left too quick. Like, all they needed was 25 seconds of a few things like Lan saying go and take the sword, and right, that's all they needed, and it would have closed the plot hole. But that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is it's just those little tweaks that I think could have made it feel a little different. That's all.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they could have done more for that, but I think that they did touch on the hubris a little bit, because Leandrin says, when Maureen says, "How did you catch him?" and she said, "It took a page from your book, snuck in and shielded him while he was sleeping. And then a little bit of lightning and the army all ran home to their mothers." So what I'm thinking is that when they went in, seized Logan and attacked the camp, the army scattered because, you know, they were being attacked with the power and they didn't know what to do with that. And their leader was gone, right? And so they assumed that nobody would know where they were if everybody ran away. So, you know, they were maybe too comfortable in their position. And then later on, when the wards went off, Karina said, I guess the army didn't run home to their mothers after all. So, you know, they did touch on that, and maybe it was, you know, not enough, but, you know, I do think that they addressed it at least in part.
Yep. Well, this takes us to this comment. I wanted to get to the discussion about Nynaeve. And Avienda left this tip. Avienda would appreciate that. Question for everyone. What do you guys think about the potential of fifth that Dana mentions in episode 3 in her dreams? Is that Nynaeve or Logain, or is it a fifth Taviran? And why is it obviously Nynaeve after the ending? I don't know. Okay. I see. Naveless. The fifth, that Dana, first of all, do you believe Dana? Like, is that some subterfuge there? Do you believe there is a fifth possible? Is there 10 possible candidates? Is there 15? Do you think that there is some belief on the shadow side that Logain might be the Dragon Reborn?
Okay, I want to make a distinction that I made to both of you, and I will choose this hill to die on.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because I think people are mistaking two different concepts here. You can be a Taviran and not be the Dragon Reborn, clearly, right?
Sure.
Dana was referring to 5 candidates for the Dragon Reborn that essentially Baalzamon in her head is communicating in dreams. Okay, that is not the same thing as Taviran. And people keep coming back to this. Well, there are 5 Taviran. No, there is nowhere in the show so far that 5 Taviran has been said communicate.
Right.
To Viren, the word has only come up one time in episode 1, and it was with Moraine saying there are 4. So there is no 5th one that we've talked about. So I don't think that that's what she's talking about, to be very clear. I think she's talking about potentially 5 candidates for the Dragon Reborn. And I think it is possible that it's Taim. I think not Taim, I'm sorry, Logan. Everybody seems surprised at Nynaeve's explosion, right? She doesn't, but then again, the Trolloc was capturing Nynaeve, not killing Nynaeve. Distinction there. So I think Nynaeve is the answer because, right, there were no Trollocs. They even made this point. There were no Trollocs chasing Logan.
Okay. Yeah.
There were no shadow spawn sent to fight Logan, but that Trolloc was dragging Nynaeve off, I think, to capture her, obviously, because everybody else they killed. So
I like I think pulling on the Trolloc actually taking her but not killing her is really, really good support. Let me ask, who's the 5th candidate for the Dragon Reborn here? We obviously have Logan. We have Nynaeve. Is there anybody else that you would throw on this list? Other?
Bella.
Yeah.
Bella. You know, if I put Bella in there, you're all going to vote Bella. You know you are.
Jenny the dog.
Jenny. Who's the 5th candidate for the Dragon Reborn? Here you go. Let me ask everybody that. Okay, so somebody mentioned Logain's capture could have been a full military exercise because he's the king of Gildan's. He has the king of Gildan's support. That would have been an international call to war. Again, the amount of people that would actually attack this Aes Sedai camp were probably smaller than the amount of people they had available to them. I just think that's just very likely.
Plus if they scattered,
Jamie said the 5th is Nazrim Taim, which, okay.
Might
I like it. So let's jump to Nynaeve now.
Can we pause for just a second?
Yes, go for
I
it,
need
Jess.
a bio break. Okay.
Bio break.
Don't talk about her without me.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Nameless, then while we're waiting for this, we can't jump to the dream sequence. We're going to tackle the dream sequence after Nynaeve. There's some cool stuff in the dream sequence that I really loved. Is there any kind of like standout kind of Easter egg theory that you have coming from this episode that maybe wasn't like a book theory or one that you're bringing back from the books that is left when at the end of this one where you think might be where they're going?
Well, yes. So I said this one actually before when we saw the trailers, and I'm actually leaning more into it now. It's not really a book theory so much. They're playing up the fact that Swan and Moraine don't like each other. Like there was a comment about how Swan would love to get her hands on Moraine and Lan, and she's so furious with them. But I think that's subterfuge to hide the fact that the two of them are secretly working together. And I think that's obviously, justified a little bit with Moraine whispering Swan while she's having fevers.
Yep.
Like they're setting up a relationship there that's sort of a hidden one, if you will. And I think that we're going to see Moraine publicly chastised, which is what we saw in the trailers, right? You see all the sitters turning their backs on Moraine and
oh, right. Yeah. They kind of the walking out, and then you see people in the back already having their backs to her. Right. Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
I think we're going to see her publicly chastised and privately let go.
Oh, wow.
And told to go do your thing, right?
Gotcha.
We're going to get to Tarvalin, I think, in episode 5 or 6. So not either next episode or the episode after is when we get there. So obviously she's not going to stay there for the next 2. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. By the way, Sindar Gaming just said Leandrin's willing to burn herself out. Does this imply that she's not a dark friend yet in the show? Will we maybe see her swear to the shadow later? That's an interesting idea that they may kind of pull back and give us something rationale, if you will, for things later on, and not give us the same kind of moment that we have in the book. That's an interesting question. But this gets us to the conversation. Johnny, thank you very much for your comment here. Said it looks as if Nynaeve's Nova is radiating visible light. Unlike other weaves, the cave walls light up significantly when she heals everyone. Yep. So I think that they're definitely kind of digging into this. What was this moment like for you, Jess? Was it shocking, surprising? Did it just hit you immediately, kind of what they had done with Nynaeve in this moment? And yeah, what was your overall reaction? Because I know everyone online that I saw on Twitter of Time freaked out in this moment.
It absolutely surprised me because I did not see any preview that contained any footage of that moment. So I've been avoiding a lot of it unless I'm able to do like a video about it. So this absolutely no idea what happened. I figured that she would be the one to heal everybody when I saw how injured everyone was, especially Lan, because obviously they're not going to kill him off. But yeah, just the way it happened, the way it looked, the way it started, I honestly just mouth hanging open. I think I cussed and then the mouth just dropped. And I was dumbstruck afterward. I I still kind of am. It was such an amazing moment. And I couldn't even like summon the vocabulary to be able to communicate what I thought and how I felt. But it was obviously, she got angry. Like you could see it. She got mad and then just blew the roof off the place. You know, it demonstrated like the fact that she's so powerful, way more powerful than anybody else who is currently an Aes Sedai. And I loved it. It was so good. I loved it so much. Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I love that they picked up that idea about, I think they did a good job of picking a moment to give us a Nynaeve moment like this. Like, this is very Nynaeve. And so it was very book acceptable. What I mean by that is like, that you were like, oh yeah, this is like totally would be something that would happen with this character. And I can tell from people that had never read the books before or knew very little of the books, they loved this moment too. So I think it hit both book readers and new fans like the same, which was just like, what a great way to end the halfway through point of the season. Nablus, what stuck out to you in this moment with Nynaeve? She's one of your favorites.
I mean, I think it was obviously, for most of us, I think it telegraphed what was going to happen when you saw Lan bleeding out, because obviously they're not going to kill Lan. Right. But they had set it up. They set it up when Moraine says, "You are but a pinprick to the," what is it? She said the
raging sun.
To the raging sun.
Yeah. And then of course that's exactly what we get from Nynaeve. Which was really cool to pay off. And I think it's obviously a misdirection because all of us know that it's not going to be Nynaeve as the Dragon Reborn, yet she is extremely powerful in her own right. Which I also love, by the way. I want to hark back because I think this is also part of this discussion is the conversation that Lan and Moraine had when they were talking about, is Logan stronger than Egwene? Right? Because, you know, basically that implied Egwene is incredibly strong. So then we get to Nynaeve and she's that. And it was just, I thought it was so cool. Nynaeve is known in the books for her, like she doesn't do stuff, and then has these huge moments, right? Like battling Muggidian, huge moment. Battling Muggidian again, huge moment. Right? Like healing Logan. Like she's got these like, I think Nynaeve might have more wow moments in the books than any other character. Maybe aside from Rand, where it's just like a flat out demonstration of power.
There's so many in that. Yeah. Like there's so many things. Like look at Logan right here. Again, full book spoilers, everybody. If you're here, we're gonna be ruining some cool stuff that happens.
Yeah, we are. We
already have, and we're gonna continue to. This moment of Logan seeing this, having this look between them, and knowing what she's gonna obviously be involved in. Well, you at least think so from the books of healing Logan. So right, to have her there in the moment that he's gentled, and to have this like blast of healing energy, if you will, channeling going on, I think is amazing. Knowing that she's about healing other things and takes part in not only like the healing of gentling or but also when it comes to she takes part in what's the word? I can't think of the word. Getting rid of the taint on Sidene, you know, so you have a little bit of that like here in this moment too. Like they're calling out so many things that I just loved. I loved this. People were, I'm seeing like I was fist pumping. People were like, people said this was kind of, they cried in this moment. Just really, really impactful overall. What am I missing? There's got to be other things here, but what else did you see maybe in this moment that is kind of book related? Oh, I saw this comment. I know what it is. Here's this one. Let me show this from Knuckles Mustache. Thank you, Knuckles Mustache. Said, Nynaeve's braid unraveling parallels her ties to the two rivers as wisdom and her old unraveling in this moment. Yeah, you see her braid come apart, and that's a great call out again. Just it's like so rich, full of so many different things. Jess, anything else that stands out to you in this scene that we get?
When it was done, the look on Moiraine's face absolutely read to me as, holy shit. Like, she had no idea. Like, I honestly think that Moiraine had no idea what Nynaeve was capable of, which I love.
I want to go back to this, Nameless. Do you think that did they know that she could channel at this point? Like, because they all seem surprised. If someone mentioned Leandrin walked up to her and said, "You can come to our tent," so maybe there is like an awareness of it. Okay.
I think they didn't overtly say it, but I think they knew. Obviously, how could they not know, knowing what we know about the lore, unless they made a major change that you couldn't tell?
Right.
But they could, and that to me, that's the only reason Leandrin would have even been remotely interested in talking to Nynaeve. That we're trying to figure out what Moiraine was doing. But I think generally, I think it was obvious that she could channel, and I think that maybe they thought, again, she's a wilder, so who knows? But it also was implied maybe they didn't know, so I don't know.
This one's. I'm going to ask. So I'm going to end this poll. Just about 900 of you voted on this one. Who is the fifth candidate? You all believe that the fifth candidate was, well, not all, 61% believe Nynaeve, 21% believe Bella, 12% believe Logan. I want to ask this, did they know for the show, did the Aes Sedai know that Nynaeve, let's say, had the ability to channel?
I feel like Moiraine had to know because she knew that Egwene could. She knew that Egwene could listen to the wind, and she said, like, explicitly, listening to the wind is channeling. And she would have known that Nynaeve could do the same thing. So, but they haven't set up the idea of, channelers being able to tell when another person can channel, but that doesn't mean they're not going to. And maybe this is part of that setup. Like, if Moiraine could say something like, I knew you could channel, but I had no idea you were this powerful,
right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. By the way, I missed some comments. Art had a comment. Missed so many comments here, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get to them. Art had a comment about like Moghedien and this kind of being Moghedien and Nynaeve in the future, and like you can't see what they're doing. Art, I totally missed your comment. Write it in chat, and I'll try to bring it into the show here. This one came from. Go ahead. Yeah.
No. If you're reading a comment, go ahead.
I was gonna say this one came from Grumpy Smurf. Dark Friends in the show won't be exactly the same as the book to keep us guessing. That's a good point. Maybe the Dark Friends we know. So I want to ask if we think that Leandrin's going to be one.
Yes.
This one, Victor, I cried because something I wanted to happen so bad happened. Such a cool moment, an awesome Nynaeve moment in this episode. And I know that there was.
I want to add something on this.
Go for it.
Because I think there's actually one thing that I wish they had done differently about this.
Okay. Bring it up.
There's a scene that we're missing from the books that I wish we had gotten to see that we're not going to get to see now. And that's Nynaeve or Moiraine essentially convincing Nynaeve that she can channel. Because obviously Nynaeve can channel now. But that scene where where Moraine walks Nynaeve through the first time and like channeling sickness and right, like those things were kind of cool. And like thinking, oh yeah, you healed Egwene without knowing you did it. How'd you find me? How'd you, right? Yeah. That scene I liked, and I wish we had gotten to a degree from the books. Obviously, we're not going to get that now because Nynaeve clearly knows she can channel. But if they had that and Nynaeve refused to believe her, and then this happened, I think that might have been a good setup payoff. But for us, we knew Nynaeve could do this. I'm wondering if for non-readers, this felt like it came out of nowhere.
I don't think that it probably did because if we remember back when she was cleaning around the sacred pool and Moraine came in and she said that thing about how the previous wisdom could listen to the wind, she went to the tower. Like, to me, that made it clear that Nynaeve knows what channeling is. She knows that if you can listen to the wind, that's channeling. Like, I think it was set up from the beginning that she knew what she was able to do and she knew what Egwene was able to do. Because she could tell that Egwene could channel. So, I think maybe it wasn't completely explicit, but I think that they set it up from the beginning that she already knew. So we wouldn't have gotten those scenes in any case. I also miss them though, because I feel like that sets up more of the antagonism between Nynaeve and Moraine. And just like Nave said, it's just overall some really cool moments. So.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do and where they take us with Nynaeve and channeling. I want to throw this comment up. I think this is true. This moment had such an impact on the viewer because we were raging and desperate with her. Was I the only one screaming at the TV? I was sobbing. Yeah, she channeled kind of some of the anger and frustration of viewers. Like I said, my sister-in-law who wrote like texting while it was happening, like, Lan? And then it was like, no, oh, he's fixed. Okay, we're okay now. I just love he's fixed. Everything's better now. This comment came from CJ and Joanne Godkin. Said, do not forget that some women are born with the spark and some women can learn. That's going to be interesting how much they either do give us that. I feel like they have not mentioned that specifically yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of dig in there or don't. Rant Almore said, do we witness Liandrin lying? If so, certainly a dark friend. I don't think she likes the braid or doesn't know how to pronounce Nynaeve. Oh, that is a great one. I had forgotten that Easter egg.
That's a good point.
That's the Easter egg there. I didn't think about it as lying. I thought about it as just like totally winking at the audience out there because that's how I pronounce that name. Did any of you pronounce that name like Liandrin pronounces that name when you first read the books? You didn't pronounce it that way? Nynaeve? I totally pronounced it Nynaeve.
I pronounced it Nynaeve, not Nynaeve.
Okay.
I'm still having trouble getting to the Nynaeve thing. And the reason I did that was because the A is first.
I think I said Nynaeve, I think was how I went to it. Did I said I know that Nynaeve had the ability to channel? 83% of you said yes. Okay, I had to end that poll because I want to know who else pronounced you. Did you pronounce it that way? Who else pronounced Nynaeve this way? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Nave.
I was Nineveh. But
Nineveh? Okay.
In my head, I don't know why. It was just kind of a glance over the name and move on. It doesn't look like it should say that, but
who else? I almost gave you a bad poll. Did you pronounce Nynaeve the way Liandrin did?
I love your bad polls. I'll do that. And
then started reading.
How did you pronounce Nynaeve's name? Yes or no? That's usually what you do.
I know. I almost did that one. Okay, let's bring our next caller into the show. They've been waiting a good long while. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Hey, it's Ted. How you doing, Matt?
Ted, how you doing, man? It's great to hear from you. So,
doing great.
You waited a long time to make your comment, so I appreciate you waiting.
Over an hour.
I know. I told everybody you're gonna be waiting a long time. You did. So I'm glad to get you back on the show here. So what do you think?
Well, actually, I used the time productively. I came up with a loony theory while I was on hold.
Okay, good. What was your loony theory? Let's hear it.
That Else is Brigida Reborn.
Okay, so yeah, this is an important kind of nuance. The young girl, I think her name, people were saying, the young girl that you see that has the doll, people were saying in the what are the, I can't think of in the closed
In
caption.
the credits, she was called Helga.
Yes, in the closed caption it said Else. In the
But the credits were called Helga.
The credits called Helga. So like, and that the name, I think I saw on Twitter that the name had been changed. So do you think that Else has? In other words, do you think that Brigitte has already been reborn? Is that what you're suggesting? That's your loony theory, that is Else, that like they have another child that. Do you think that there is another child that just wasn't home at this point?
No, I think Else was Helga. Else is not going to show up at the White Tower, and so Brigitte was reborn normally. She's in the world as Else, and now she's dead, and now she can show up when they blow the horn of Ilir, because she's back in the world of dreams now.
I see. So you think that was Brigitte reborn? Okay, that is a loony theory. What do you think? Do either of you agree with this idea that this was her, and that's why she had a doll named it, maybe? And
I don't necessarily buy it, but I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's really fun.
Well, I was going to go.
I mean, think about it.
Nameless, do you agree with this idea?
Watching over them when they sleep.
Yes. I know. She does seem to kind of like know some things. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's enough evidence to say one way or the other. But I think they're obviously trying to get us to think about Brigitte or drop the Easter egg there. So
I'm going to add to this loony theory.
Rebirth.
Go ahead. Yeah, go. Well, Ted, how do you like my idea? They have another child. That child is named Else, and that child is actually maybe at the White Tower. So like the whole family is like killed, but then we have Else who maybe they end up meeting. And so like, I don't know, maybe there's some connection there. Maybe that's not that loony of a theory. Maybe that's just like the
intriguing.
reality.
Well, I think the main issue with that is that in the... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's quite possible that they already had another child that was older already go to the White Tower, and we can meet them later on.
Yeah.
Maybe even named Elf. Who knows?
Well, I think that the main issue with that is sort of outside of the show. You know, in IMDb or wherever it was, they called that character Helga. But then on that child's, official Twitter account that her parents run, they said that she was Elsa. So it looks like on the credits there was a typo. I mean, her parents could also be wrong, but it seems to me like they would know what role her daughter had, which means that this child was not Helga, she was Elsa. So.
Yeah, and the closed captioning is probably right out of the script, which would have said Elsa.
So I think this was a late change, though, potentially. So, yeah, this was what I love is that regardless if this is like a production change or what, as far as the name's concerned, it's just going to feed additional speculation.
Which is the best part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Ted, thank you very much for waiting. Before I let you go, though, favorite episode so far of the show?
Oh, this one just completely blew my mind. I was drawn in from the first minute until the last, which evoked one of my favorite scenes from chapter 29 in Lord of Chaos, the one called Fire and Spirit, which I'll try to avoid spoilers. But, I mean, that scene gets me every time I read it.
Love it. Yeah, this is it's definitely, like I said, it's an episode that's growing on me. I still like the third, I think, the best, if you will. But yeah, love it. Ted, thank you very much for holding on line, man. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep, great talking to you. Take care, guys.
Yeah, bye. And Johnny Graz did say this, and I think, is this the one you were reacting to, Nablus? The question here about Elida and...
Yeah, that better not change. I will riot.
Okay, let's bring in this question for those of you that missed it. Great question, and I'll see if I can put it up on. I can't get up on the screen. Johnny said, "Anybody else think they're building up Leandrin to take over Elida's role? If so, I hope she's not a dark friend." What do you think? Let me ask everybody in chat, and let me go to you seem to have a reaction to this, Nablus. So why don't you go? Why do you not hope they do that?
Well, losing Elida as a character would be stupid to me. I mean, that honestly, I don't think you would have to bet me. I would be willing to bet a lot of money that's not happening. I would be absolutely shocked knowing what I know of Rafe if he decided to combine Elida with Leandrin. I just think that would be such a foreign, stupid thing to do.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
It wouldn't make any sense. And again, he has not messed with major characters like in that regard.
Mm-mm.
Like, you know, I can understand introducing Elida at a different place. Like that's the type of change they've made. They haven't gone, oh yeah, Rand's a character, we're going to cut him. You know, in the same way, I know Elida is not on the level of Rand, but Elida is the reason part of the plot happens.
Yeah, she's a major.
Yeah, she's such a great non-dark friend baddie. Like in the same way they're building up Valda. She's somebody that we love to hate, and she's not strictly evil.
But they could make Leandrin that, right? They are building her up to be that person. If they take away the dark friend side of this, they already talked about her influence with the people in the camp. She could totally take that influence and run it into the tower. You already kind of setting up this angst with Moraine. You have her belief about Nynaeve and now awareness of Nynaeve. I'm saying they could absolutely be like.
Well, they could do it. Like, it would just be a mistake.
Instead of going the Elida route. Well, again, and I know I've had this conversation with everybody before about Elida and how I wasn't ever that impressed as a reader with Elida before. But why is Leandrin not being a dark friend and taking her influence the wrong decision then? I mean, Elida plays the same almost exact role. Like if you take out the dark friend side, tell me that. How different is Elida from a Leandrin if you take away the dark friend aspect and you use the character that they're building out here in the show?
Okay, I'll bite. Leandrin in the books has legitimate ill intent. She does things on purpose, knowing full well that they are bad. She takes Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve and tries to sell them to the Shanchen.
Well, yes.
Like she's bad.
Friend, right.
She's a villain. She's an actual literal villain. Whereas Elida, she's doing things because she thinks that they're the right thing to do. Her motivations are mainly, I don't want to say pure, but they're mainly good. You know, she honestly thinks that she will be better for the tower. She honestly thinks that the things that she's doing are right. So the fact that she isn't a dark friend, I think, is significant. I think the fact that her motivations are different, I think, are significant. You know, it's just, okay, yeah, there are two people who do bad things, but the details of it are so different that I just don't feel like combining them wouldn't help, and I feel like it would hurt.
The book, I agree if you take it just a book perspective. Like if you take book Leandrin and compare it to book Elida, I just feel like they could be setting it up. The show Leandrin we're getting does fill some of that. I know what the right way to do things. I think that there's things going wrong here. And sorry, and yeah, go ahead, Nablus. I'm not.
Well, you'll get me biting now, but I think there's a distinction in what Leandrin is the first introduction to the Black Aja. That needs to be a part of the story. And I like the fact that they're setting Leandrin up to be at least somewhat likable right now, or at least understandable, so that when we find out she is black and that we can go back and look at, oh, what was she doing there, right? We can look at, she manipulated this situation so that she could gentle somebody that the Shadow thought might actually be the Dragon Reborn. Like they're trying to eliminate men that can channel. So there is a motivation there, whereas so I think there's a distinction between setting up the Black Aja and then having Elida be this bumbling yet somewhat competent villain that's Red Aja. I think they are different, and I think they both establish different things for the show. I don't think combining them, I think you're going to have to do one of the other thing either way.
Sure, they're going to have to do both. Well, I can just see them do it. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
Oh, and there is something that I think it was a kind of just a passing line, but I think that it's significant when she was talking to Coretta, trying to convince her that they needed to let him break out so that they could gentle him. She said, if we let him break out, we can, like, it's okay with the 3 oaths for us to gentle him because he would provide a real threat. So like the whole gentling thing, like that is linked to to the oath, right? But that first scene in episode 1, she gentled him anyway. She wasn't paying attention to any oaths. That man did not present any kind of clear and present danger. So to me, I feel like that's a little egg that is already setting her up for being Black Aja and no longer bound by the oath.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting choice what they decide to do, because I think you're right. They could be using these moments to set her up as like, did she lie? Did she do this? And are we gonna get typical kind of what we expect from the books? I just think that they also could be setting her up. She's a great actor, right? And they are really embedding in Liandrin in ways that are kind of almost like how much they embedded in Logan. Like we didn't know this much about Liandrin at this point in the book, and they're definitely giving it to us earlier. So anyways, yeah, go ahead. Final note on this one, Nablus, and we probably should jump on to the next topic here.
Well, yeah, and I've got to hop off here soon, but I don't know that there's much more to say than that, other than I just think that I don't think Rafe wants to go that far. I think Elida is enough of a major character that combining her with someone who's really not that similar outside of they're both Red Aja, I think is a detriment to the story. There's also collateral damage that happens, like, because you're going to have to do what Liandrin does if you want to keep the plot somewhat similar. Okay, we know the Shan-Chan are coming, right? So that arc is going to exist. I honestly think they lose something, even though I don't necessarily want to see Egwene captured. I think they lose something in her character by not having her go through that ordeal. And then the other characters reacting to that ordeal, right? So, yeah. I mean, you could obviously get there a different way, but that would mean more Liandrin combining with Elida than Elida combining with Liandrin, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not sure what the value in that is. I just don't think that saves much, really.
I mean, Rafe talked about there will be some merges. So yeah, I think it's definitely a theory that we can play with for now. That's for sure.
Kate is absolutely just a gem, and she's perfect as Liandrin. And I could see them combining Liandrin with other characters who aren't Elida,
sure.
Just so that they get more of her. Which I hope they do, because I love her.
Can Liandrin take Alviarin's role?
See, I'd be more in line with that.
That could be really,
I think that would work.
Could be really interesting. She joins with Elida. That I would totally. Yeah, I'm actually really into that idea. Okay, so we have like probably another 15-20 minutes here, everybody, and then we got to say goodbye here. It's been a blast. I mean, we've already been live like almost 2.5 hours. I want to get
really.
It's crazy. It's insane.
It doesn't feel like it.
I don't know how many of you are still there with us, but I hope you've been enjoying this. The callers, the discussion here has been a blast. So we have 4 callers. These are the last 4 we're going to take. We have to hit the dream. We cannot leave this discussion without talking about the dream. That has to. And Bill, I'm so sorry if your super chat got missed. If you just hit my name up in chat and put what your question or comment was, and I'll try to track that. And maybe the admins can help you. I'm going to cover some of the ones I feel like I missed. Behind the Timeline said, anyone else notice how healed the cut on Egwene's arm was after the Women's Circle ceremony in episode 1? I want a flashback to Nynaeve healing it. That would be interesting. That's a great one. Nice job on that one. Danch said, Moraine's question about Logan being as powerful as Egwene lets everyone know I said I know by seeing and or feeling something in women and men. That's an interesting point, an awareness of strength. Was that concept of a strength awareness, was that when they were holding the shield?
But Moraine said she wasn't sure. She said she didn't know.
Oh, okay.
She didn't know. That was just her opinion.
Okay.
She was aware, I think that he was very strong, because like you could tell when she put the shield on and then Liandrin let hers go, like she grunted out like audibly, because like they were pushing down so much power. But I think that she probably doesn't, at least with men, she doesn't have a way of clocking like exactly how much is there. She just knows that it's a lot.
Yes.
That's how I interpreted it.
That's kind of how that would make sense. Holy cow. There's 1.4 thousand of 1.4. There's 1,400 people watching right now. Y'all are awesome. And
One
this is how much
point
you love
four
this
sounds extreme.
1.4,
Sounds way more impressive, though, right?
I know all of you loved this episode so much. Thank you very much for joining in. Like I said, Bill or anyone else that I missed, I'll try to go back and find those. But if I missed your super chat here, please just let me know, and I'll try to still weave it into the end of this conversation. I saw Stripemus said, "Please don't take my hatred for Elida from the show. Elida's karma is pure gold." Great commentary, by the way. Yeah, I totally get not wanting to lose Elida from this conversation. And it makes sense. Avienda said, knowing Nynaeve, she will likely not channel again soon in the series due to the block, and stubbornness will make her deny it before she admits it. Yeah, that's a good question.
That sounds
what
right.
is this? That sound on point for her. And let me bring our next caller as I find some of these other, like I said, super chats that I might have missed. Oh, interesting. John Starr says they address sensing the power in the X-ray trivia. So yeah, guys, there's a whole section of this you're probably missing from this experience if you're not going into X-ray and actually looking these things up. The bonus content stuff is in there. And like I said, the trivia is going to answer some of these questions and give us a lot of feedback or like depth of what it is that they just are not going to cover directly in the show, possibly. Bill said, it's okay. I was just bringing up all the Aes Sedai linking before the stilling of Logan and how I can't wait to see more of that. Yeah, did you like that? Did you guys like the way they linked? Did you like... it seemed more like theatrical in my head than I ever like... I never saw that. But I also get the visual presentation of wanting to show something being done and instead of just standing there. You're just like, I'm linked.
I liked the visual. I liked the way the power came and like crossed around and like, they obviously learned a specific way to do it. It looked really cool. And then when Alana runs in like at the last minute, it's like, fuck yeah. Sorry, I did an F word. I'm sorry.
She did seem to get really excited about that. Like she was like, yes, I get to be part of this,
Screw this dude. I thought the visual of it was really, really cool.
I saw you also maybe Nameless kind of with me. Like, I don't know, that's how I thought it was going to be presented. What did you think?
I thought it looked kind of cheesy, to be honest with you. It was cool. I mean, I think it's nice that you can see it, but I also think like, does that mean that every time we see anybody link in the future, they have to do this little thing and like, I don't know. It also, here's the bigger question it brought up to me. If linking is a thing, why in the heck weren't they linked before? Right? Like what?
Like, why did they have somebody else in there adding to the power so they could hold?
Why
the shield?
weren't we shielding him with a link? Why weren't we like that? That part, it drove that point home more to me that they were creating individual shields, which is not something they do in the books, rather than linking to create a stronger shield necessarily. So.
Yeah, John Smith said
maybe
Power
the process
Rangers,
of unlinking, makes it too weak or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was. To be honest with you guys, I would say another one of my little. It's a nitpick because I get shows and it doesn't really affect me that much. The special effects are not like incredible. Like they're decent, they're passable, they're good, they're not great. And so like that's where I didn't like it. Is it just somebody wrote in the chat felt like Power Rangers, and I think that's probably that's what it felt like. It's like let our powers combine. Like
it didn't feel like that until the linking for me. When I saw the linking, I was like, the linking that, and I don't know if it was just that motion of what it was, and maybe there's a similar motion of the power. Like maybe there's like a similar kind of visual of that's been used in shows like Power Rangers, where you're like, wait, this looks a lot. I think there was that. Yeah, that I wasn't a fan of it. It looks like, honestly, though, so far from everyone's voted, about 400 of you voted so far, 72% liked how it was presented. So, again, each one of these. You
call me a shill, and you all call me a shill. Okay.
You're such a shill.
As I drink my.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Nice mug there. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me get through some of our callers here. I'm trying to find some comments that I might have missed. Yeah, I'm seeing like not a fan of the hand waving. Some of that looked cheesy, but then you get a good portion that actually do like how it's presented. So I want to see them form Voltron. Okay, let me bring these callers in, and we'll end up here shortly. Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Hi, Shar. This is Kyle. First time caller, but a long time watcher. And I actually wanted to give a shout out to Nameless because you were my first introduction to YouTube Wheel of Time. So Thank you very much for being there all the way. I had a few things I wanted to talk about real quick. One conversation earlier about did we see Rand as a Taviran using that ability with the farmers? And I think it was confirmed in the episode because when he says, you don't want to kill us and we don't want to kill you, there's like a whisper on the wind.
Oh, really?
That happens. And I think that that's going to be kind of like the way they signify that something mystical is happening. And I thought that was pretty cool. So if you go back and check that out. And then Adnan Thane was my favorite character in the books. I thought he was just such a cool take on this like secondary evil, and not even secondary in form of like power, but just that there is more than just one absolute evil. And I think that the people that are upset that Matt is kind of going heavier into this right now, I think they're going to be really pleased with the end result, because I think it means that Rafe is going to lean into this and have more going on. I mean, at the end of Eye of the World, right? We're full spoilers.
Yep, full spoilers. Yep. If people are still here,
when
then
the Forsaken show
up.
Yeah, right. But when the Forsaken show up and they describe how they found them, and they talk about an old friend and old enemy, right? I think it speaks to how powerful that force is, and I think the Fade was absolutely hiding from him. So I couldn't agree more with you, Nameless. So I just want to say that. But as far as the hand motions and all the Power Ranger feelings that we're getting right now, I think that'll go away too, because it's like when we first meet the Aiel, they kind of chastise Moraine and the other folks there for needing to use the hand movements and things like that. And I think that as our characters grow in the show, they're going to fall away from that a little bit. But right now, it's just kind of to help the new viewers see it. I'm super encouraged. I think episode 4 was the best by far. And I think there's going to be I think it's showing glimpses of really solid things to come. So I was curious if you guys noticed the whisper on the wind, and if you're as excited about Mashadar as I am.
So Kyle, thank you so much for calling in. That's
Thank
awesome.
you,
Yeah,
Kyle.
we will definitely answer those 2 questions. I'm really excited. I need to go check the whisper on the wind. That's
I'm totally looking out for that the next time I watch.
I love it. Yeah, I'm going to ask my guests about that. Hey, Kyle, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate that. And you've pointed out 2 things here, or one important thing. Nameless, obviously, hopefully my admins here can put Nameless's link in the description, in live chat. If you're not following Nameless on YouTube, you should go follow him right now. Makes excellent content, and so does our other guest here, the Amyrlin study, Jess, is also on YouTube. You can look them both up, and hopefully both of those links can go into chat here. They've been willing to sit here for more than 2.5 hours chatting about this because they love this stuff and they geek out on their own channels about this. So please do go follow them. And Kyle, thank you very much for calling in, man. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank
Matt,
you.
do you mind if we
Bye-bye.
pitch
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Jess and I also occasionally collaborate on something else too.
Oh yes. Thank you. Would you like to explain to everyone that's viewing what that is?
Oh gosh. I'll let Jess do that.
Okay. The name of the podcast is Tarvalin After Dark. It is hosted by myself, Nameless, and Rakappa Sadai, aka Brian. It is part sketch comedy, part news, part general discussion nonsense. We have a lot of fun. We talk way too long. We butt heads and just generally have a really good time. So, especially if you're enjoying sketch comedy, I think we're funny. So
you're funny. It is funny.
We even do commercials.
Nameless isn't funny, but
I am not funny.
You and Brian are.
I'm hilarious.
I am funny looking.
Yes.
Yes. No. Check out Tarvalin After Dark. I will make sure to put that link in the description of this video afterwards. Also, I'm going to do a call out for this comment from Mistress Dove. Appreciate that. It was so amazing to see queer polyamory presented casually in a major show. I've been so desperate for this for so long. Yeah, I saw that comment a lot from fans of just like, it's so nice that it was just part of the show and it was just part of the world. And
it was just there and it was normal and it was beautiful. I loved it so much.
Yeah,
Oh my God, it
absolutely.
was.
So thank you
That
very
made
much
me
for that
so
tip.
happy.
I'm gonna end this poll. Do you like the way linking was presented? 70% do. Check that out. We are going to end this discussion with dreams. We're going to get through these last 3 callers and jump to dreams, and then we will end it there, everybody. Let me welcome our next caller. Welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
This is BARSIDE.
BARSIDE, thank you very much for being here. So what's your thought that you've waited so long, actually? So thank you very much for being on hold this long. You're wonderful. What did you want to say? What did you want to comment on?
I'm sitting here thinking it's been an hour and a half and I have to leave for work soon.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad we got you in.
Yeah. So I've been really thinking long and hard about the whole Logan scene, Nynaeve with her Nova, which I'm going to go ahead and coin the Nova Neve.
Nova Neve, I love it. That's good.
So the thing is, like, when that scene is happening, you see, like, this physical, like, energy wave coming off of her. And so to combine that with her shouting out no, and her braids floating up in the air, and everybody just being healed all at once, you know, that right there is enough. That you don't need to say that, you know, she's Ta'veren or that there's a glow coming off of her. Logan's not stupid, and you know he's going to be able to put all of that together and be like, "Damn, she is powerful."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love Nova Neve. That one's going to stick with me for a long time. Yeah, just the most amazing part. What a way to end that episode. And I loved Logan's reaction to it more so than anybody else's. Sure, Lan's alive. Sure, everyone's just like, wow. But I just love how much he brought, like Alvaro Morte brought to that scene of just being overwhelmed by whatever he was seeing and recognizing about her and what that's going to mean to the future. So good.
Yeah. And then there was also another thing that I wanted to point out. So somebody on tarvalon.net actually pointed out that the translation of what Nynaeve's parents had said to her before they died, Lan's translation of it does not actually match up with the Old Tongue translations. And so somebody who was actually spending some time going over it and translating it themselves, they came up with, "The fallen people's blood passed through our land, and our hearts and memories will change the pattern." Heart.
Interesting.
So that is apparently the more accurate translation.
Well, what's interesting is it will change the pattern. That adds maybe a little bit of complexity to that. I love it. That's.
I wonder
fantastic.
if he mistranslated it on purpose.
Well, my guess is that you're looking at a more direct translation versus maybe.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's how I would imagine, because it doesn't sound like. I'm
Well,
just
they
remembering
said it wasn't precise, and some of it's directly translated, and some of it's interpreted to make sense.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But I love the direct translation of this or the interpretation. So, hey, thank you so much for waiting on. Has this been your favorite episode so far?
So far, yes, but mainly because Nynaeve's my favorite.
Sure,
I even named my daughter after her.
No, it's awesome. Thank you so much. I know these episodes are going to go 2 or 3 hours, and we're covering like an entire freaking hour of material. It's hard to get callers in the entire time. What I'll probably do in the future is do an episode here ever so often where it's just me and the callers, so you can call in. And so I apologize for having to wait so long. I'm so glad you did, though, and we caught you before you had to go to work. And thank you very much. And have a good time at work. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. I'm going to say favorite cast member moment to chat while we chat with these last 2 people. Nynaeve. Who else? Give me 3 other people that had amazing moments. Matt. Who else would you call out as just like shining? Logan, obviously. Who would be our 4th option? Nynaeve, Matt, Logan, and who? Leandrin?
Isla, Leandrin, either or.
Who do you want me to throw in there? Isla, Leandrin, Moraine.
We got to let's throw Isla in because she's the different.
Isla? Okay.
Different plot line.
Okay. Here you go, everybody.
I mean, we all know it'll be Nynaeve is the answer, but.
Favorite cast member moment of episode 4 between those 4, and let's bring in our second to last caller here. Hey, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Great Innkeeper, as always. I raise my glass to you, sir.
Cheers.
And of course, Nablus, what's up, buddy? Raise my glass to you. And Jess, hello, my lady. Raise my glass to you. And everyone in chat, what's up?
Norm. Yeah, Nablus is like, I got my mug. I'm done. Norm, what's going on, man? Thank you very much for holding on line. What's your comment and thought you want to bring to the table before we end here?
Oh, man. I mean, Nablus kind of stole my thunder, but, man, this was a great episode. I mean, everyone calling out the polyamory that was going on and around the campfire. That was beautiful and very nice and subtle. It wasn't blatant, which I loved. You had the battle tactics, or should I say the non-existence of battle tactics, because remember, there weren't any great captains there. Lan is not a great captain. Someone said that Lan was a general. Lan was never a general. He was, people followed him as a leader, but he wasn't a tactics guy. That was another great captain who did that in later books. We won't spoil that. I loved the nice misdirect that Nablus was talking about with now the people who have not read the books are now going to believe that Nynaeve could possibly be the Dragon Reborn. And that's a nice misdirect. I love that moment. Probably my favorite moment in the entire episode, though, I would have to say was the nice subtle exposition dumps that they were doing throughout the thing, that they were subtly building things. You were building the male channeling, which you only see. I mean, in book one, you have one guy who isn't a Forsaken that actually channels, and now you've had two in this show. So you had one guy, that cold open, which everyone was hating on. But let's be real. I thought it was an actual person. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's a hallucination. So that's one manifestation. Then you had Logan's little, corruption puppets on either side of his shoulders. That's another manifestation. So I'm looking forward to seeing the more Ashaman and seeing how their manifestations of madness come out. They're just a nice little subtle things here and there that's building the world. That's what I loved about this episode. It was very subtly done, and that's my favorite thing about shows. You get that you cannot get in a movie. It was subtle.
I have to ask you, between of all the things that kind of came out, which was your favorite though Easter egg of just all the things you've mentioned? Just you have to pick one.
I would have to say only one. Nynaeve being so bloody powerful. I mean, she did to all your D&D fans, that was a mass heal, level 9 magic spell. So it was insane. That was just, she never did that in the books, and all of a sudden, blam, there it is. So that just kind of establishes, her badass-ness. So
I do love that. I love corruption puppets, which will stick with me for a while. Corruption puppets is like corruption puppets is my favorite. Maybe
you mean
from
taint puppets, Matt?
Taint puppets, yes. Oh, sorry, yes, taint puppets. Hopper, yeah, exactly. Taint puppets it is for the win. We should ask best hashtag at the end of this. By the way, people voting, almost 500 voted on this. Favorite cast member moment. Nynaeve did win out 60%. Nynaeve, of course. This is it feels like Logan's
not by as much as I
episode,
thought.
and it becomes Nynaeve's episode very much at the very end. Logan 22%, Matt 12%, and Ela 4%. Norm, it's always awesome to hear from you, man. I thank you for bringing taint puppets to us and this conversation. And as always, I love hearing your voice. And glad you were just one of our final callers, man. Have a good one, okay?
You guys take care.
You too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, last caller. Welcome to the Dusty Wheel. Who's this?
Hi, good afternoon. This is Diljit.
Diljit, how you doing, man? Good to hear your voice.
Hey, not bad. Yeah, I was finally able to get in. But it sucks that I have to follow Norm because, he sets the standard for live caller so high.
He gave us taint puppets. So after taint puppets, I'm not sure. You're going to have to work hard here, Diljit. So, you're our last caller. What's the comment or question you came in with?
So just following up on Tain puppets, one of them was in closed caption. The name was Elusha. Is that a name that we know of, or is this a show creation?
Elusha, when was it? Do you remember what scene it was at?
When that voice was like, when the voice would speak, the female voice, the shadowy voice, the closed captions said Elusha, I guess Elusha. I mean, that was the first time I heard that name, but I have only read the books one and I could have missed. So
I'm gonna go look. That's a great question. Elusha. I know. I'm doing a search here. Anyone
because
else
he did say that, all the past, like thousands of past dragons are speaking to me. So maybe I'm missing on where, like, some of the previous dragons were named, but this name did sort of, came as a surprise. Like I haven't heard of.
Yeah, no, it was made up. It's not in the books that I can find. So yeah, no, yeah, that's a good call out. Like some of the lore that they're almost kind of creating with this, adding to the lore. Yeah, we get some backstories for Elusha. Has this been your favorite episode so far, Dijit?
I'm on. I think I'm liking all of them. This probably had more action than the previous one, so I do I did like it a lot. But yeah, I've liked the previous episodes too. So I won't really say one of my favorite, but one of my favorites for sure. Yeah.
So before I let you go, did you have a favorite Easter egg? Maybe something we haven't mentioned yet. Favorite Easter egg from the books that showed up?
Yeah, I always like, the naming jokes that come with the Amyrlin seed being the title as well as the person. So when Lan asks the other warder, how's the Amyrlin seat, and he replies, well, she is still seated. That made me chuckle for some reason. I thought that was a good warder joke.
Yeah.
That they had. She's still seated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do love, again, just how many winks and nods that make sense to put in the show, but also it makes us happy as book readers to see those things, that the actual writers cared enough to do that, right? We'd still all be watching it.
I just have, and one of the other things. Yeah, and one of the other sort of things that I'm doing, I've seen, doing rounds on online discussions, is there's a new Lord of the Rings in town, and that being Amanwalda. And I like that title for him a lot, like the Lord of the Rings.
The Lord of the Rings, yeah, that's a good one. Hey, Dijit, thank you very much for being our final caller, man. Appreciate that. Thanks for bringing that to the table.
No problem. Thanks for the good show, always.
Absolutely, man. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.
I wanted Dijit, if you're listening to this, you should come on as a guest sometime. I want you to be a guest. Let's make that happen. Admins out there, don't let me forget. Okay, we're at the end of this dream. Final notes on that dream we saw. I know it's weird to end with this point, but Jess, the dream. What did the dream call out to you? What do you think they were trying to signal with that dream? Because there's an obvious one at the very end of it. But yeah, what did you take away from the dream that Rand has?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of difficult. I haven't given it a lot of thought, but as it's sort of percolating in my brain right now, I wonder if it's kind of signaling to Rand that he is sort of losing touch with his friends, that he doesn't really know them very well. Although the dreams are supposed to be like a does Baalzamon make the dreams?
So it just depends on how.
Or does he just invade them?
Yeah. It just all depends on which type of or how the dream is. Yes, it just depends on what the dream is. They haven't given us any detail.
Dream shards.
Yeah, it could be a dream shard. It could be not. It could be somewhat prophetic. They could be making. They could be giving Rand prophetic dreams.
Who was Perrin striking? They showed a ring, but it didn't register. Was that Layla?
Everyone believes that that's Layla. I don't know. That's totally I don't know why the garb kind of suggests a Tinker garb to me.
Yeah, and the ring doesn't look right.
So I was wondering.
I think it was on the wrong finger.
Yes.
So Yeah, so it might be a prophetic kind of thing if you know if it wasn't a sort of revealing to him what actually happened, if it's like maybe a prophetic thing, a metaphor for something that might happen, that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was interesting.
The real question in that is, were they all in the same dream?
Oh, you're wondering if all three of them or all four of them are actually taking part or being affected by it. That's interesting. I don't think so. I think it was a Rand dream. That's my thought. But I hadn't even thought about it. Maybe all of them have pulled in potentially. They don't seem, if this makes sense, he seems the only one that's cognizant of the dream side. The rest seem like they're playing in the dream. But maybe that's just the view that we get from Rand. The one thing that stuck out to me was Balsamon or the Dark One or Shamael, whatever you want to say, grabbing Egwene.
Yep.
Like that is to me dead on. Like the other ones are a little bit more interpretive. That one's so strictly straight from the books. That's like, that was just like like I felt like they were saying like, this is the thing that you're thinking that this is. This is the plan to take Egwene. That's what I took from it.
Controversial hot take coming in.
Okay.
They're adapting this and they're adapting the book well in the dreams. However, let's talk about this. How stupid is it what a Shamael is doing? What are you doing? Why are you popping into dreams to go boo and then let him wake up? Like, what's the point? Like, either find him and kill him, which you could do in their dreams. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's just dumb.
You're saying that you wish they would have adapted the dreams to be a little bit less like a
little less stupid, because it's stupid in the books. Like, they're dumb in the books. Like, what are we doing?
I like that you're pissed off that there's more of a direct translation and adaptation of dreams than you expected.
What are we doing with them? What was the point?
Yeah, so this is Sparhawk. Rand as a dream in the books. He's actually not, although we thought he was. Brandon seemed to call that out specifically, that he was not a dreamer. That's what I always thought in the books that Jordan was going for early on, that Rand was. But Jordan also plays with this concept of a Shamael's dreams affecting, like, in other words, your dreams can affect others depending how powerful of a dreamer you are. And it is believed that a Shamael is a dreamer. So that he could be affecting other people with his own dreams, if you will. But they could be making Rand a dreamer and give him prophetic dreams too. That could be happening here. So yeah.
I always just assumed that Shamael just liked playing mind games with him. Like, I always just assumed that. I mean, in the books, I felt like it was part mind games, part trying to figure out which one of them is the dragon. Like, I always kind of felt like he was asking questions to kind of try and tease that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's happening in the show, I'm just sort of like,
yeah, I would agree with this. The Dark One's advocate psychological warfare, but it does always seem like I go with the Nablus on this one. This seems like Jordan's way of just kind of like, come on, you could have killed him anytime, and you didn't. And
one of these days, Matt, we'll have to make a video 5 ways the Shadow could have won in the first book.
We need to do that one. Yes.
Only 5?
Yeah.
I mean, 5. We'll have to narrow it down to 5 because there's about 20 million. Called "How to Not Be Stupid."
I would agree with that. But yes, well, again, that just depends on the nature of how they're interpreting these dreams. Are these prophetic dreams? Are they not? Are they wolf dreams, if you will, and giving some prophetic nature that way? And so is a Shamael there? Is it a reflection of a Shamael in their own dreams because they're prophetic? That's what they're dreams. And so they can kind of play with this until they actually dictate, or Rafe tells us exactly what's happening there. But I wanted to ask about Matt before we end right here. I get the Egwene one. That one seems obvious, and maybe I'm making that too obvious, and maybe that's something else. Matt walks over and his hand is bloody. So again, what's if we're talking about prophetic dreams and we're talking about what's happening in that dream, what is that signaling? Or have you thought about what that's signaling? Anybody out there in chat has thought about, like, what is the potential there? Or do you think that's just kind of like the Mashadar and the dagger, and it's just kind of a symbol of that? Either of you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm stumped.
honestly, I'm not really sure what that could be yet. Like, what blood does Matt have on his hands? Like, if you think about symbology, think about the different interpretations of that. That could be that he has literal blood on his hands. So, I mean, Perrin has blood on his hands.
Oh,
right. But
yes, sorry. I just saw chat and I was like, oh, yeah, that's. Sorry, they give an obvious one of like Matt and the band, the red hand.
Band of the red hand.
Yeah, it's a red hand.
I feel stupid, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah. Look, it just happens every once in a while that the obvious, really obvious stuff. I'm thinking like a plot thing that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's that obvious. That might be more of a coincidence than anything. I'm not sure that that's that. That would have no meaning right now, and it's not. Yeah. It's not that he's holding up a hand that's red. It's he's got blood on his hands and he's carrying them like I just killed somebody. So,
and this goes back to maybe he is responsible for one of the deaths there, and maybe that's going to be something that is affecting his character. That could be like we're all saying the Fade did it all, but maybe that's not totally true. I don't know.
Yeah. Or Sherbet Mango said this. Does Rand think that Matt has blood on his hands?
Ooh,
that's Rand's dream.
Yeah. Oh, good. I do like that. Okay.
But keep in mind, Matt hasn't done that yet. He wakes up from the dream to go find Matt in the house with the dagger.
Yeah, it could be prophetic in that way potentially too. Yeah. He thinks Matt's capable of it. Maybe Tom has convinced him he's capable of something, and so
that's true. That was after the conversation that they had where Tom is convinced that Matt can channel. So it could be a manifestation of that, since it's sort of a given that men who can channel are dangerous.
Yeah. We got to go back to this dream again. I know we've kept you all here for 3 hours. Thank you both for giving 3 hours of your day to be here. A round of applause for my guests. Thank you.
It's my absolute pleasure.
Okay, so this was a lot of fun. I don't think we're going to be able to get away with like an after show about this, a live after show without going like this many hours. I'm sure we just touched the surface of everything that happened. We'll see how everyone talks about this afterwards. Can't wait to see what you all come up with. Remember, again, please go follow these two channels, Nameless and the Amyrlin Study on YouTube. The admins can put this in chat for us. Then on Tuesday, remember Tuesday is the next official after show, next episode at 1 p.m. Eastern, and that's on Amazon Prime Video. Follow the official account if you want to see that. If you want your comments that you make about this episode, maybe have a chance to show up in that show and be highlighted there, please do hashtag your reactions to The Wheel of Time. Not Inside the Wheel of Time. We decided just to keep it simple, just do The Wheel of Time, the official hashtag, and we'll be looking at your comments and hopefully pull some of those into that official after show on Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll be back here live for a review and recap, and then we'll probably, I don't know, Friday turned out to be pretty great today. Everyone showed up. You're all awesome. So we might do a Thursday or Friday after show. I'm not sure what we'll decide next week.
Who needs work?
Yeah, who needs work? Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you both for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, yeah, this was a blast. Now I got to get back to some work for the next 4 hours around here at the house. That's the family at the Dusty Wheel would like the Innkeeper back to get on some important things for this Thanksgiving holiday. So thank you, everybody. Please do follow this channel, too. We do live, obviously, discussions about the Wheel of Time. Love doing this and continue wanting to iterate. If you have ideas, send them. Happy to kind of try to incorporate them. But thank you all our callers, too, and thank you for waiting. This was a blast, everybody. And as we say around here, good afternoon from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel.
You went right to kill it. Look at you. You're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is
really well. And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, and you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the two rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So
Jess complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm
sad.
I see Nakomi as something along the lines of a Shida Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge. Yay!
Pair of like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all of a sudden,
it's not just
like,
a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi
And
elements.
just a moment
for those that
ago,
are kind of interested.
Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guest in here with me. And
Probably, I would say, put in 70-80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no.
You went right to kill it. Look at you. You're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is one
really
of the
well.
biggest scenes.
And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the two rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So
Jess complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm
sad.
I see Nakomi as something along the lines of a Shida Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Will Show. What? Meme Off Challenge. Yay!
Carol's like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all
this
of
is
a
not
sudden,
just
it's like,
a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi
And
elements.
just a
for
moment
those that are
ago,
kind of interested.
Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guest in here with me. And
Probably, I would say, put in 70-80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no.